Okay.
Y'all wanna wait on the vice mayor?
Oh, yeah, you can have a seat
No,
here.
no, no, I'm saying, do you wanna text him or wait on it? We can wait.
I think, I don't know, he talked with, talk with him, I don't have communication. She's in,
She's in court.
she's in
Is she
court.
gonna use the video for
Yeah,
minutes?
to get it back, yeah. We can start, what about, Tawana, she's coming? What about, the vice mayor? We can start with.
Oh, so she's not coming there. What was wrong there? She's stuck, oh, she's stuck in traffic.
If you wanna, the lawyer's not coming. What about Adam? You wanna have a seat here, Adam? Okay. Where is Miss Benita?
She's around the corner.
Hi, Miss Benita. Come on here, Miss Benita. Can I have a seat here? Me? Yeah. The attorney is not here. Just come on here. Come on, Mama. Okay.
Okay, come on, we'll say, I'm not gonna stand in the oh, no, Mayor, you keep it on, do your thing.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I don't wanna get me going.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Today, Tuesday, February 17, 2026. It's time 5:10. Call in order, Mayor Eddie Norman.
Alderwoman Carolyn K. Paul,
Alderwoman Virginia Rivers,
Alderwoman Mary Mason,
Alderman Alethea Harris.
We have absent today the Vice Mayor and Alderman Joanna Broadnax. We open in prayer by Ms. River. Can you open prayer?
Let us pray. Our Father, we come this evening to say thank you for another day that you allowed us to have. Now, Masters, we come together here at this table to try to do the things we need to do for this town. We ask that you will govern our minds and our heart. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Before we start the meeting, I want to thank everybody coming today, especially thank for the comptroller office, Steve and Adam. And also we have a special gift to the congressman from the office, David Costo. What is his name again?
Logan Stafford.
Mr. Logan Staver, and anybody have any question or any concern, you can get in touch with him. We appreciate you for coming today.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Today we're gonna start with controller presentation. You can take it from there.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate y'all inviting us back. Sorry that this took an extra month to make this come together. We had a little weather event and then a misscheduling, but I'm so happy to be back here. And I'm also happy to tell you that I brought three really smart people, smarter than me, with me to present. Adam's gonna talk to you about where we kind of left it out before, where we've got policies and procedures that y'all are working on. We wanna give you all the opportunity to take up and finish the purchasing policy tonight. And anything else that y'all might have been working on, to bring that forward, discuss it, vote on it if you want to vote on it, and move forward on that. We've got Nate with us, excuse me, still getting over a cold last week. We got Nate with us to talk about T-Board, and we've got Sarah from Local Government Audit to talk about your audit report. But for the, excuse me.
You want some water?
Thank you. If we could take the financial data up for us, so that way we can get
Ms. Benita.
Miss Anita, that way she can get finished and get out of here. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, do y'all want to talk financial data now, or do y'all want to talk it after the presentation? It's y'all's call.
Yeah, whatever is easy, you know.
Yeah.
You just go ahead.
Does she have a report? Do you have a report?
They gonna talk about it.
It was emailed. So the January data that you emailed out, about a week or so ago? Or December, I'm sorry, the December.
Yeah, November, December.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working on January now, but they don't have, we got November, December. Yeah, I'm working on January right now.
Before we hand it over to Adam, did y'all have any questions on that?
On that, I have a question. You sent a notice that said something about our computer system not being able to populate something that you were unable to furnish. What was that?
What was the request?
I'm sorry?
What was the request? I forgot. I can't remember.
Do you remember what it said on the report that she was unable to do that would follow? I was just wondering if you knew when it would
I
be.
think it was a shared expense.
I can't, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, but I don't have, it's not a report from shared expense. All I can do is Google that and see what expenses are being shared. And I told her I couldn't just pull it up, but I did send a fee that was,
Okay.
share costs, share costs.
Like, you remember we talked about it, I requested from the board, we can have a special meeting just for finance. We go line by line and everybody just say, okay, just, we're gonna have, just for finance, we're not gonna, go a different way. And just everybody, if you give me a date and time, Ms. Vanita, she be with us, we sit down on our 2, 3, wherever we can to answer all this kind of question or anybody have any concern about it. Yes.
Miss Renita, do you mind stepping over here? Cause I do have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
I can get back here.
I know, but she said that she can hear.
Adam is gonna touch on your question, Adam's gonna touch on that in his presentation.
Okay,
Share
but
costs.
I was just gonna explain to him, the reason we haven't set a date for the meeting, is because if we have a special call meeting and a board meeting, then some members don't wanna come to a third meeting. So we're having a problem getting
Now,
everybody to agree to
just
come.
let me know, guys,
So
we'll
that
talk with Ms.
it's on
Vanessa,
the-
we can
Yeah.
come here.
It's on the agenda, and y'all can ask any questions you want.
Alright. Yes, Ms.
I
Mason.
do have a question. I guess this is for finance as well as HR who's not present. But I sent out an email a month and a half ago asking for the names of the employees that's in public work, their positions, their salaries, whether or not they were qualified or certified in gas. I never got their report. I even came up here to see if I could get it. Miss Norma Davis, HR, told me that you wanted to talk to me before she gave it to me. I spoke with you and your response was, what if I don't give it to you? And you refused to give it to me. And you were in the office with us, you said that you would give it to me, but I never got that information. So, I mean, how long, we have what, 7 days after we
The only
request
thing, did you
information
give
to
us
get
a
that
written
information?
request for that?
Excuse me?
Did you give us a written request for
Yes,
that?
I emailed you all. I emailed everybody and
didn't see
CC'd
it,
the board.
but, if you
I
know, but,
CC'd you
but
on
you
as well.
mentioned up there too, what I remember in that meeting, you tell me you're gonna call the comptroller to let you, so I prefer to give all this
No.
information to the comptroller wherever you come and
No,
investigate
sir.
the town.
No,
I
the
don't have any
comptroller's name came up, I'm not
Okay,
arguing.
okay, but we
But
start with,
I
to be
was-
honest, with this whole thing, y'all was getting a little heated. I
Right.
said, okay, I get, just get you out of there, to be honest.
Okay, so I never got it.
What happened?
But,
Mayor, if I may,
Yeah.
board members should not have to use Freedom of Information Act to get information.
That's
about
right.
the city.
That's
That's-
right.
I'm sorry, that's coming
Okay, what
from
you,
the
what's
board
under,
members.
okay, what happened to me when I was vice mayor, you know, I requested information.
I know,
I
but that
have to
doesn't
take
make
a
it
months
right.
and
But that
months
doesn't,
and months.
but that
Yeah.
doesn't make it right.
All right.
If a board member says, I need some information about employees, about whatever, in order to manage the city, that's what everybody here talked about tonight.
Yeah.
They need to get that in a timely manner.
So what I understand is we used to manage the town back then the wrong way.
Well,
Back then.
that is, I'm glad you said that, because that is my kickoff.
Yeah,
That is why we're here.
Okay,
And like I said, I'm here to kick this off,
yeah.
and I'm gonna bring Adam in, and I have a feeling that as we go through this, we'll get where we wanna be, okay?
We don't have any problem.
Okay, so.
I do have one more question, Mr. Osborne.
I wasn't shutting you up, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, you're fine. I have a copy of a receipt that, the mayor or the town paid for turkeys for the citizens. And I brought it up to the mayor on one of the last meetings. It was $1,400 that was paid for 50 turkeys. So is that something that we do out of the town's funds? Or it could have been out of the Walmart grant that we received?
No, you're not.
My answer to that has
No,
to
you're
be,
not.
and I apologize for walking around and answering,
That's okay.
but because that's handled in another department, and I don't have purview to that, I'm gonna let that department handle that
Okay.
and take it as far as they need to do. If they don't, then we'll come back and talk about it, but
Okay.
as long as they're looking at it, I'm gonna let them look at it. I don't mean to walk around your question, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying.
Can I have answer for that too?
The same answer, I can't speak to that.
I said, can I have the answer for that? When I answer.
Oh,
your
yes,
question?
yes.
Okay, Eric question is, you're talking about last year, it's like about 3-4 months ago, is correct?
Correct.
Okay,
November.
I'm talking about every year, I pay it from my pocket. And the comptroller office coming last year, I hand him the copy of the check, what I paid for it. So it's not coming from the town, coming from me. So if you want it, I don't have any problem. Me personally, it's not the town money, okay? Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Since y'all on that, Mayor, you told us that you got donations that were donated to you from people like Court Civic and other places. That was exactly what you said. That donated money for those, supposedly for the turkeys or whatever you spent it for. However, none of that money was ever brought before the board. Any money that's donated to the town is supposed to be brought before the board so the board can approve for it to be put in the budget. That money was never, ever brought
All right.
before us.
Okay, let me
And-
answer that.
And,
Go ahead.
not only that, you're not supposed to buy things from the town without the board knowledge. The money's not supposed to be spent if we don't know about it.
Okay, they have answer for that? Okay,
Yeah.
number one is, the people does not donate the money to me personally. You know, we have a checks coming to the city. We have a copy of the checks. I don't put it in my account. I don't do it. It's not donated personally to me, okay?
That's not
This
what I
number
said.
one. Number two is, I have, me as a mayor, according to the charter, I have a certain amount of money. I can spend it
No.
without asking the board for anything. If I touch the money from the town, if I touch money from the town, yes, it come. But if I spend it in my own, I don't have to get any permission from the board.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
with all due respect, I mean, we just have to be honest about things because, I didn't say they handed to you personally. I don't know how you got
You
it.
say it now, a minute ago.
But I said you told us they donated money into you for the turkeys. That's what I said.
Okay,
Then I said that any money donated to this town is the board's supposed to know about it because we have to vote on that money to be accepted to go in the budget. You can't just go bring money from people and put it in there and the board know nothing about it. That's why we're in the shape we in now.
what we shape in, we in very good shape.
No, we
Number
not.
one, I answer your question. Okay, you talking about give turkey to the citizen. It's
didn't
not,
say
I'm
that.
not give it to anybody, I'm not taking it home, I'm not taking it to friends.
That's not what
I'm
I
giving it
said.
to the citizen.
That's not
You
what I
follow
said.
what I'm saying? I'm not bucking up money, I'm giving money, okay? This is what I did, okay? Tell me, for how many years you live here, what you did for
You
the,
didn't
for the
answer my
town?
question.
Did you
You
know,
didn't
I'm
answer the
asking you, you
question.
don't do nothing for the
Mayor.
town.
Mayor.
I spend my own money
Mayor.
to helping the people.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I called for the previous question.
Yes.
So, just to clear this up,
Man,
Grant
these people
money,
thinking about something,
donations,
it doesn't
Board
make
vote.
sense.
it's appropriation. So, but so that we don't get any more devolved
Yeah,
into
this
this.
is just coming
But
big,
this,
big, big.
but this is why I want you to understand, this is why we're here.
Yeah.
We care a lot about this city.
Sure.
We want to see this city succeed,
Thank you.
and this is not succeeding.
Yeah,
Y'all have to come together, you have to manage this city. I want you to picture a house being framed, and y'all are in a position where you've got, the house is being framed, the rain's on the way, there's no roof on the house, you've gotta get this stuff done. The bickering has to stop.
so if you
So-
don't, I wanna understand something, Steve, if
Yes.
you don't correct
Yes.
me if I'm wrong. So you're gonna tell me I cannot give nothing to the citizen of the town? Do you give him food or donation or something?
Your dollars can be spent however
Do you
your
know?
dollars want.
Yeah, thank you.
City dollars come to the
I'm
board.
not touching the city
Well, then
dollar.
if it's your
I'm not
money,
touching the
that's,
city dollar.
I will say, if it's your dollars, if
It's
it's
my
coming out
dollar,
of your
this is my
wallet,
money.
but if it's not, the board votes on it, that's.
Okay, I'm
clear-
not touching
clear
the
as day.
town money.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
You did use the credit card, the town's
Yes,
credit card,
yes.
when you bought the turkeys at Walmart.
Okay, and after that, I embarrassed
call
me,
them ID.
like last year
They
before,
call it
like I said,
right here.
and I have 4,500, I can't spend it, but I give him
No.
check back.
I understand that, but you were saying you have X amount of dollars to spend.
Yeah.
That's true, the mayor can spend up to $2,500
Yes.
a year.
Yeah, how
And
many I
that
spent
was
for the whole year? I'm gonna
1,400.
spend nothing.
Well, you cannot charge it on the town's credit card and then decide to pay
To
yourself
pay it
back.
back. No, I don't pay it, man. You don't understand.
No,
You know
I
what
do understand.
what I
I
understand
understand.
is
The
we
guy
have to
there.
give back the community.
Oh,
Did
Jesus.
you know what we're
I
supposed to
understand
give?
that, but the
That's what I'm saying.
taxpayers do not want you to spend their money on turkeys, because I bet you,
Oh,
you got
God.
50 turkeys, you got 1,300 people population in that town. How many people are gonna get
But
turkeys?
I
I
don't
didn't
take
get
nothing
it.
from the taxpayer. I pay for it.
No.
It's a credit card. I pay it back to it.
You have paid.
Yeah, I have a receipt for
He
it.
a mess.
So,
He a
what's the
mess
problem?
with this.
Well, because you didn't say that the last
Alright.
time we discussed
Thank
it.
God. Okay, last year I did the same thing, and the state coming up, show me the receipt of the turkey.
I know.
I didn't
Did
give
y'all
the
get
receipt
any
of the
turkey?
turkey,
I know,
and
and the
everything was
council
out.
told you not to do it anymore.
You guys, so you're gonna stop me to provide service to my citizen here?
You're not providing us service.
Okay, if I wanna give you it to the town,
Guys, we drove from Nashville.
Yeah.
to talk
Uh,
about
it's
this.
just come on,
let's
man.
let Adam go.
These
Let's-
people didn't have any clue about money.
Which means stop
I'm
debating.
not taking nothing in my pocket. I don't have to do back deals.
Mayor, let's,
Okay,
let's
we
let
cut it
Adam-
off for coming. I
let's
appreciate
let-
you for coming.
yeah, so
We're
Adam,
gonna keep going.
we're gonna have 3 presentations, and then I'm gonna come back
Sure.
and give them the opportunity to vote on their policies and procedures. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ed.
Okay. So, like Steve said, I'll go ahead and kick it off. I just have a few things to talk about, so it probably won't be too long, my part of this. I'll talk about areas, I say non-compliance, but just areas of concern. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about budget monitoring, and then I have interfunds that I was gonna talk about, but it appears that your interfunds are cleared up, so I'll go into that a little bit more, or mostly cleared up, I should say. And then I'll also talk about the charter that's on the table, the charter amendment. But I do just want to start, and I didn't memorize this TCA code. It's tough to memorize lawyer speak sometimes. But when we talk about internal controls and procedures, we have framed those as best practice. But in reality, those are actually in statute. And so there's a statute, TCA 918-102A. And essentially the gist of the statute is that it is up to the local government, it's up to the board to ensure that assets of the town are protected. And protected in such a way that they're not opened up for malfeasance. And so that's what internal controls and procedures do. Those help protect the assets of the town. And I will say, like I mentioned, there are areas of non-compliance with our corrective action plan that has been in place, and I'll get into that as well. And I'll also say as well, the comptroller doesn't make it a habit to attend board meetings on a regular basis if things are functioning well. And so the fact that we're here, so many people from our office, means that things are not functioning well. So I won't rehash the investigation, that was a few years ago, don't want to look back to that. But there were a few things in the investigation that investigators noted. Mainly it was lack of controls, so lack of oversight on payroll operations, on the checking account, on credit cards. So that's low-hanging fruit that can be knocked out, and the board just has to pass policies to go ahead and rectify that. Steve and I in November, I think it was November. Steve and I in November gave a presentation that talked about policies and procedures we would like to see adopted. I know purchasing policy has been started. I don't know if it's been finished, but it's February, and that's the only thing that is on its way to being complete. We listed budget management. We listed allocation of shared cost, which relates to interfunds, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. The planning committee came up, policies for the planning committee, and we touched on HR policies. And so it's February, and we asked for those things to be done, or at least discussed by December, and we haven't done, or purchasing policy is the only thing that's been started on. So the town's out of compliance with that. And then also the corrective action plan, shared cost, which I keep saying shared cost, I will go into detail on those. But in our corrective action plan, we did stipulate that shared cost, and mainly between utility systems. So if there's employees and they work in different utility funds, they're paid proportionally out of those funds. But if one fund is paying all the salaries, then that fund needs to be reimbursed. The reason for that being it was interfund balances, mainly from the general fund to the water sewer fund that kind of precipitated our being here. And so the question becomes if those aren't reimbursed in a timely manner, and really timely manner at the latest at the end of the month, but really they should be reimbursed immediately if it were functioning well. And the main reason for that is you have to know if your utilities or if your fund can afford the reimbursement. Because if there's not cash to afford an expense, a shared cost, then that becomes an operating loan. And that's something that we have to approve, and it's something that does not look good. So make sure that those shared costs are being reimbursed. And then the late audit, the audit is late, but Sarah will talk a bit about that. It looks like it might be on track to being received. But just do know with a late audit, that can affect budget approval. And so I don't think this is going to happen with you guys, but if the audit doesn't come in when we review the budget, we can't approve the budget, which would also be a violation of the corrective action plan. But again, more to come on the audit. So one of the big things, just because I did mention budget, is budget monitoring. Now, I know the board, you guys passed a budget, but I'm not sure you've looked at the budget since you've passed it. And so ideally, every month, you get your budget to actual statements, which again, the board is entitled to those. So if you request those statements, you are entitled to those statements. And so ideally, you look at those statements, you see where the actuals are compared to the budget, and then you know if you need to make any amendments, and that prevents future audit findings. But it also helps the government run, especially we're coming up to the end of budget, or to the end of the current fiscal year. I know it's February and runs to June, but it goes pretty quick. And so ideally, part of budget policy is having a calendar that says, by this date, we're going to have our department budgets prepared to review. By this date, we're going to have this reconciled. By this date, we're going to have our first reading. That way, the budget isn't a thing where last week needs to be passed, late August, and so you just rush something through. That has been a regular occurrence, at least over the last few budget seasons. So budget monitoring is really important, as well as the budget policy. And those budget actuals are important in that as well. And we talk about internal policies and controls and procedures. And at the end of the day, as a board, you have the power to pass those. You need 4 votes, and you can pass a procedure and internal control. And even if those are not followed, as a board, you still have to pass those. So just be aware that that statute I read earlier dictates that you as a board should pass those controls and procedures. And I will say, municipalities in statute have different rules they have to follow. And so it's up to you guys to know those rules and apply those rules to your town and pass policies that facilitate those rules or in accordance with those rules. But the takeaway is that you have a board, you as a board, you're elected officials, so you have just as much power as anyone around this table. Now I mentioned interfunds, and the concerning interfund that we saw from the 2024 audit say concerning, but the one that was probably more concerning is from the general fund to the water sewer fund. It was about $50,000, but my understanding is that's been cleared up. So in the audit that is to be released, that interfund shouldn't be there. But there might still be interfunds between, or there might, still be interfunds between utility funds, so gas to water, sewer, those types of things. What that really comes down to is those shared costs that I talked about earlier and reimbursement of those shared costs. Now, when it's between enterprise funds, it's not necessarily as concerning if it's from, say, a general fund to an enterprise fund, just because that's an improper borrowing, if that indeed is what it is. But those things build on each other, and so interfunds can pile up. Next thing you know, they trickle down to other funds, and so it is important to stay on top of those and also make the correct journal entries for those. Now, in our corrective action plan, we did say try and do it by the end of the month that they're incurred, but really you should try and shoot for same day or the next few days. It's just not good to have those pile up. And that's how you guys got into trouble to begin with, so it's best to stay away from that. And the finishing, the wrap up here is to say that we at the Comptroller's Office, we do want to see Mason succeed, and our mission is to make government work better. And we do that as a facilitator, a consultant, but we're here to help. And it becomes somewhat of a cost-benefit analysis in that I myself have never run for public office. I've never served on a board. I just haven't served my community in that way. And everyone around this table has. And so I commend you for that. You deserve credit for that. You are here sacrificing your time. And so you have to ask yourself, time is your most valuable asset. And so when you look at your time and the return on your time, you have to look at that and then say, if we're going to spend time with this, how do we want Mason to be perceived? What's the brand of Mason? And it doesn't necessarily matter what happened in the past. And honestly, the present matters in the sense of internal controls and procedures, but what's more important is the trajectory of the government. And so you have a lot of growth around you. Steve, a few months ago, talked about donut, where you have growth around you, and you want to be part of that growth. You don't want the growth to sort of avoid Mason, and that comes down to your brand and who you're becoming. And growth or lack of growth, if there's dysfunction or the government is viewed as maybe not a government that's conducive to growth, those costs, they're not explicit. You can't necessarily measure, okay, this is costing us this many dollars. They're implicit costs. Those costs are measured by businesses that choose to locate elsewhere, investments that go to neighboring towns. You don't see those, but they're there. And so it's important to think about that. And I mentioned talking about the charter, and so you do have a charter amendment for a town administrator. Now, I will say, Mason as a city has outgrown its current charter. The charter that Mason currently has was designed for a smaller city, whereas the town administrator is designed for a city like Mason. And Collierville has it, and my understanding is it's going good for Collierville, if I'm pronouncing that right. But the benefit of having a town administrator is that you have a full-time person who's accountable to the board and answerable to the board. And now the mayor has spent a lot of time with Mason, and so he's been a full-time mayor, but the charter does not dictate that. The charter just says you have to be part-time. And so I say that to say this. Down the road, you may not get a mayor that can treat this as a full-time job. You may get a part-time mayor, and that can run the risk of having things that should be monitored but aren't monitored. And so it's important to get a defined full-time person to monitor those things. And a town administrator could help these policies and procedures. So if the board passes a policy, payroll policy, HR policy, it's up to the town administrator to implement that and manage that. And I will say the fact that we're here at these meetings, a town administrator would, for lack of a better explanation, would have to answer for that, because it's, you know, we enjoy visiting our locals, but typically we don't show up on a regular basis if there's not concern. So a town administrator charter would be a big change, and I know change is is hard, but you kind of got to think of this as a system where the output is good governance. Then we have to look at the inputs, and the inputs are those procedures that we talked about. And so you can chip away at the edges of those and try and get those implemented. But at the end of the day, you really want a town that has such a strong governance, has such strong processes, that regardless of the board or the mayor, it can run itself. And so that's really the point, the trajectory of the town. It's not about one board, it's not about who the mayor is, it's about what the citizens deserve and the town going forward. As alder people, you have a really big opportunity. Typically, when alder people run and they sit on a board, they can benefit their community and they can help keep the town running well. But opportunities to change the trajectory of a town or reformulate operations of a town, those are rare. And so as a board, you have a huge opportunity ahead of you. You have an opportunity to bake the cake, so to speak. And so, yeah, that is all I had. So
Okay, let me mention something. We heard about the mayor position here in the town of Mason. I'm a part-time, I'm not full-time. It's a part-time mayor position.
oh, okay. Well, I just meant
I'm
you.
not full-time.
Oh, okay. Well, I just meant you. I don't know. I probably spend a lot of hours though.
I spend over 60, 70 hours a week in and out, but I'm a part-time. I make $500 a month.
That's a lot of
I'm
time.
just trying to correct what the
Oh,
record
okay.
is. That's it. I'm not complaining about it, full-time, part-time, but at the end of the day is, I'm just a part-time person, $500 a month, and all the city council is part-time, all of them make $100 a month.
And
I wanna
it's a
make
huge
sure,
sacrifice.
everybody sees it. Yes,
I have a question on, the shared cost and the transfer of funds from one, proprietary fund to another. Do all of the, things have to be shared cost if you move something from the, general to the water to the general, whatever? You said that in the case of shared cost. Does that mean everything you move should be a shared cost? Or what if other things are moved as well? Does that make sense, my question?
It does make sense.
I mean, what if your
Um,
entire payroll is moved from that? Is that okay even though it's not shared by?
It's probably, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say that's uncommon. It's probably not ideal, but, if all your payroll, comes out of, say, one utility account, then yeah, it may not be a shared cost. It might just be, okay, well, we paid this person out of this account, but that should be reimbursed, as soon as possible. Revenue is another thing. Some funds, say, maybe the gas fund or water fund collects all the utility revenue for all funds. That revenue needs to be remitted and reimbursed to the proper fund. I would say, and see, talking off a cliff here,
I have
steering
an
off a
answer
cliff,
for that too.
but I would say though, it's probably not a good idea to mix general payroll with utility payroll. Those should at least be separate.
I have an answer for that too, for the ones I want to add to it. Regarding about the share funds up there, example, the lady up in the front, she doing billing for water and the gas, and she's working. We have to divide the payroll between the gas and the water. Some people work up there in the front, so we have to get some money, whatever you suppose percentage, what you work for the billing, is not billing, all of this kind of, this is the only thing we do. But we not, transfer money from 2 to 2 every month, so $10 million, whatever, we're not going backward with that, just, everything under the control with that.
And those the interfunds have been reduced, and it's not all doom and gloom. I do want to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
Mason's financial position has improved,
Way good.
but at the same time, that's not enshrined in policies, and so you want to enshrine that in policies so that moving forward, governments down the road keep up with a good trend.
And my other question, my second question was, do you find that, developers or, what do you call it, chains, whatever, people that are coming to a town to invest a large amount of money, whether it be industrial or whatever, business, do they look at, the town, whether or not, the structure of the town, whether or not it has a town administrator? Are they more likely to invest? I'm just asking if if you found that to be.
I have to
Well, I
answer
would-
for that.
James, is that a question that you might could answer for her being experienced in that realm?
I think outsiders looking to invest in the community are looking for professional management. In some cities, you got professional management, with boards and mayors. But all of the AAA bond rated cities in the state of Tennessee are professional city managers.
Okay, can I add something to it, if you don't mind, please? Regard about anybody you wanna invest, or if you wanna do any business here in town, number one, you look at it, did our system handle the growth? What I'm talking about, the water and the sewer. Our system handle the growth, yeah or no? Okay, meaning is, I wanna, right now, have a deal in the table to annex 100 acre inside the city limit. Okay, when I got the 100 acre, I have to give something. If these people want to do a subdivision or commercial, whatever it is, we don't have the ability to handle, because what happened in the past affect about what happened today, delaying us. Whatever you have a professional or non-professional, he cannot do nothing, because we don't have the ability to handle it unless we got over $11 million to go Lucy Hatch River or tied up with the blow over sewer to handle the growth. But I got working with, the first time I pronounce it, okay? I got working with some engineer with idea. It's gonna cost the town almost between $600,000 to $800,000. We can handle any growth coming up to the town with it. So we tried working with the state to charge more, for the sewer to handle the growth what she's coming. But I'm not gonna talk about it until I got all the information about it, and it is easy. It's less than $800,000. You put the whole town of Mason in business, whatever you're professional or not. This is what happened, because whatever it happened in the past, delaying us 20, 30, 40 years. That's it.
Ain't nobody gonna put business
And I will say too, and Nate will talk about the utility funds coming up, but the utility funds as they stand are not in great shape. So
I seen all that crap.
there's work to be done there. But
I seen all
the other thing too is, as a board, you guys should also be aware of what's happening in the utilities. So before any expenses or anyone gets hired, you have to speak it over with the board. It can't just be a solo thing.
That's right.
Yes, Ms. Rigo.
I have a question, on the, when you were speaking about the internal control, I do know that we don't really have the proper internal controls for as how money is being handled, because there shouldn't be just one individual handling the finance or the looking at the money. It's supposed to be another person of people that's supposed to be looking at these finances as well. You can't just have one individual doing that. You can't have two, like even up in front office. You can't have, the proper control is not having everybody working out of one drawer. That's not control. That's totally a violation, because we're not supposed to do that. So my question, not only that, is how we need to correct that. So you here, give us some advice on how we need to correct that, because I do know that one person cannot be considered internal control when you have nobody else looking at the numbers, you have nobody else looking at the figures, and you have people, like I stated earlier, you got everybody up there in City Hall works out the same drawer. That's just not how that's supposed to be.
Well, and I keep it
I have the answer for that.
Well, I will say that real quick. So that situation could be helped by getting the financial statements and being able to see them on a monthly basis, which I know hasn't necessarily happened. So that would improve with the town administrator. But as far as your question, I don't know if Steve or James has a better answer than I do.
Yeah, well, so you don't want one person, you're spot on, Ms. Rivers. You don't want one person from the start of a transaction through the end of a transaction owning the transaction. You want to break this up with different people. because then the only way you can have theft is with collusion. So one person does it all, might be the most honest person in the world. You still don't want the most honest person in the world doing all of that, because good management says you're gonna break that process up. One person opens the check, another person does the deposit ticket, takes it to the bank. So that's good internal control, and I believe y'all should have enough people in City Hall. We have some cities, there is one person and it's part-time, and they have to bring a board member in to be that extra person, but they still do that. So I think y'all might have enough people that, with the help of MTAS, you can get to make sure you've got a good separation of duties.
Miss Ripper, I have the answer for you for that. Okay, my answer to you is, we have two people in the front. One of them doing billing, the another one doing a cash register, receiving all the petty cash, all this stuff, okay? The people making the payment, one person handle the cash order, and at the end of the day, when you close the shift, two people, you have to close it together. Who put this rule? The state put this rule. Back then, when we had 2-3 people over each other and the money was missing, did you know? So the state come and say, hey, we have to stop, we have to make a control of it. So you change the whole thing, because back then, you used to one person run the whole show, and there was a lot of theft, and they put us in the rate. So we change it for two. One person with petty cash, another one with the billing. But when you close the shift, we close it by penny. Every day, we close it by pennies, no shortage, okay? So this is how we do it right now. This was the state request back then, and we did it. Before, when Miss River, she was up there, she was over the finance back then.
It doesn't matter what happened. We're focused on
That's what happened. This is my answer.
We're focused on the future, not focused
Yeah,
on
that's
this.
what happened.
all he wanted to do.
Oh, one more thing, I will say, change is hard. So changing a charter, changing government, it's hard. But sometimes the status quo is tough too. So I am sympathetic to know that it's tough, it's not. The things we're discussing sound easy, but I do know that they're not always easy. But as a board, you do have power to implement.
Can I just say, I appreciate all of the help that you're giving the town now. I wish it would have came maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, because to tell you the truth,
we were here 3
things
years.
fell, I mean, there was no bridge there, because we weren't aware of a lot of the things that are our duties to do. And especially if you don't get the proper utility training, whatever, the first year when you're supposed to, then a lot of times these things just sail by you. We look at finance reports, but yet we don't know how to read them. No one has asked if we knew how to read them, and there was no way we could go learn how to read them, or well, at least we didn't know where the resources were. So I think we're trying to get it together now, and that's why it's all coming at you at one time. And I apologize for that. We really, I guess it's just a case of, we're learning a lot now that we did not know prior to that.
Well, appreciate you for coming. We'll be glad.
James is gonna tell me if I'm over speaking, but
Trying to give you
as a board, could they not say, MTAS, I would like you to come in and teach us how to
Yes.
review financial data?
Well, James has been a really big help.
Right,
Really.
right.
He has
They do
brought,
board training, they
There's-
do-
MTS has a lot of people smarter than me, so we've got people who can help with utilities. We've got Angie Deaton, that you've all met now, who's really good with finance, internal controls, and policies. So there's, whatever your questions are, MTS can find a way to answer them.
but I'm saying that because I looked at the investigative report done in 2023, and there were a lot of policies that were pointed out that said, this is why people were able to steal money from you, because you didn't do this is, well, here we are 2 years later or whatever, and none of that's changed. And, that's why I'm saying that we're learning this. It wasn't intentional on our part not to fix this. I think
Can I
we realize we're responsible for it.
and what we're,
So,
and what we're
Can I-
saying,
throwing ourselves at your feet and,
And what we're saying is we're here for you and we're gonna help you
Oh,
all along the
appreciate you.
path.
Appreciate it.
Because you're saying that's what the city needs to be doing.
All right.
And
I have something I wanna say.
Yes.
Because, okay, y'all, we going like 2023, this and that. Okay, you say we don't wanna go back, I'm not going back, but
She does.
where were, if this happened 15 years ago, I know Mason would not be in the shape that it's in. If we were getting all the support that we're getting now, the right people coming to the plate to help Mason, to get things in order, a lot of the things that happened back then, we would not be in the situation that we're in now. Maybe we would been able to afford the administrator that you all saying that the town needs, but, you know, how many years, Mason has never had an administrator.
We used to have two. Was
But
Blanche,
they,
hired two.
okay, but
Assistant.
I'm just saying, at the time, you know, when Mason was, you know, we had way more business than we have now, back then. And the board, you know, the people that was running the town, you know, everybody was, first the town was grown, had grown business and this and that. But, you know, things changed and it's just like, it just fell to the wayside. And a lot of things that went on with the audits and this and that, all this stuff, years and years of audits not being done, but nothing was never, you know, nobody was ever pinpointed, well, this right here has to be done now, this and that, you know. So, you know, I wanna see change. I wanna see my town prosper and come back to life. Cause right now it's dead. And it's been dead for a while. People are moving in, but business is not coming like it should. You know, people talk about Mason, you know, sometimes good, sometimes bad, you know. And I appreciate the state coming in, wanting to help, and that's exactly what we need. But like you said, everybody got to be on the same page. It can't be no this and that and, you know, people talking and not, you know, you're not gonna get anywhere if you don't have communication. If we wanna change, then we sit down as a board, discuss together as a board, as a mayor. I'm a citizen of Mason, have been all my life, you know. But, you know, and like I said, change is good, you know. And I hope that the change that they wanna do, that it happens. And it put us back where we need to be as a town. And I'm quite sure the citizens that are not here, that to know what's going on and what's actually going on in the town, probably need to be here so they'll know it's, you know, the town is gonna change. Things are changing, so they need to know what's going on, not hearsay or what somebody else say. Come in here for yourself. You know, it's gonna change, you know, so.
Come in here.
Well, and real quick, I will say as well, I only brought up the investigation just to kind of highlight, sort of the low-hanging fruit for the board to knock out from a policy standpoint. And I know that was a few years ago, and the board has changed. I mean, there's new members on the board that weren't here for that. But it's not necessarily the past, it's the trajectory, and so we are glad, to see the board, really taking an interest in this. And so I don't wanna discredit that or make it seem like I'm sort of casting blame on anybody. But you have an opportunity to fix it now. And so, you know, past is the past, we can sort of learn from it, but at the same time, we can look forward. You guys have an opportunity now to solve those issues.
I agree with everything everybody say, but let me put something in the record that everybody knows what's going on. 2023, when I take over, it was in the rate. And after that, I come to Nashville, I tell her I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, to get the town. We was running the town, it was empty, minus, 0. 2022, controller tried to pull the trigger, but when I coming up there, I fire 16 people, I start to build the town up. And I bring everything is home. The people contracts, finance, the public utility, I see tons of money up there. And right now, we in better shape what happened before. This what your office tell me, according to the data, according to everybody what he say. Miss Alicia, she said 2023, I suppose you come in here before. Did you know? Yeah, I don't have any problem with the change, but I think with some good board member, we make it happen. Right now, we're not in rate like it used to. I promise you, I ensure you, no theft, no traveling, nobody abusing the system here under my watch, because I'm watching every penny nickel and dime in front of everybody. I'm responsible about every penny nickel and dime of somebody. You know, I'm not going to Africa. I'm not using credit card. I'm not going wherever I go. I spend my own money to leave town. And you guys come and appraise me about what kind of job. The biggest hit we did, no contract with the finance. We changed Miss Vanita, she control it, I control it. Everything hit in the right direction. We have a little cushion in the bank right now with Core Civic. Watch everybody against it. I stand up to bring more citizens here and more job for the town. And right now we make it good for them. Thank you.
Yes, going forward, please, can y'all help me understand how we can, when it comes to paying, out of the, whether it's out of the gas, the general fund, whatever, how do we make sure, cause see, everybody is not, okay, I use public work for instance. The people that are doing gas, or those that are just doing lawn service or whatever, they should not be paid out of the same thing. Because we need to make sure that, and again, that's internal control. So you gotta make, going forward, those are things we need to straighten up. Because if you don't straighten up what's wrong, we ain't gonna ever go forward. So going forward, we need to make sure everybody, all employees are getting paid out of the correct account. And also, I do know for a fact with the correction action plan, I know we done violated it, but with the correction action plan, you all did give us the opportunity to be able to transfer money if we needed to, but in that plan, we had to have that money back within 30 days period.
Yeah, and that's the interfunds.
Yeah, and so I've asked a couple of times about it because I haven't seen it in the budget where it was going back, but I do know it's coming out. So I'm just saying, going forward, since you're here, we need to figure out, I need y'all help us figure out how we stop that, how we put it into that, because it needs to be looked at, because just our last, here lately, this month, last month, whenever, but we got a gas bill higher than the money we got in the account.
So I agree with you 100%, Ms. Rivers, and I can't take that 30 days away from you because that was in the agreement.
Right.
But if you as a board want to move forward, y'all are at a place now, you don't need a whole month. You need
That's right.
you need to know this employee and this employee and this employee, they do this, you've got it in paper, you know that they get 30% from gas, they get 30% from water, they get 30% from the general fund, because that's what they do. They're cutting grass, they're working on this, they're working on that. You tell them paper, you know how to pay them. You don't, y'all are getting to a place, you don't have to pay everybody out of the water fund.
No.
Everybody can transfer into an impress account, you can pay your payroll, that's where you're moving to. You're growing, you're gonna grow out of that and into this other. And everything I'm hearing tonight is just proof positive of that y'all are ready for that growth.
Yeah. So y'all got some ideas?
We do, and if Adam, if you were done.
Yeah, I got
Thank
to
you.
the extent of my
Appreciate you.
knowledge at least.
Thank you.
We'll let Sarah in here.
Hi, my name is Sarah Pope. I'm with the Division of Local Government Audit. I am actually a separate division from the Division of Local Government Finance. The Comptroller's Office is very large, and so I like to kind of give that delineation a little bit. So I primarily deal with the audit side of things. And the Comptroller's Office contracts out with CPA firms across the state to perform audits of local governments, including municipalities. So essentially, Banks Finley White, who you all have contracted with as your CPA firm for your audit, they're performing the audit on our behalf. what happens is they perform the audit, they communicate with our office. Once they submit it, we go in and review it. So there was some kind of talk about information with the late audits, not being addressed by our office. Every year, when we review those audit reports, we do have written communication that has a statement in there that says, hey, this audit was due on this date, and it was received at this date, to show you that there's a discrepancy. So we do issue a letter every year once we review those audit reports, and it is intended to go to every board member. So that is something that you all need to be looking for. Once your audit has been issued, then there's gonna be a little bit of time, there's gonna be a review letter coming from our office as well. So that's something that you may not have seen it in the past, but now just going forward, please know that that is coming to you. We issue it to the communication on our file system, and then it's supposed to be distributed. So that's something to think about. But I want to mainly talk about the late audit. So I was here in August, and spoke to you about the different components related to the audit, just to kind of give you an idea of how it all works with the time frame. What I mentioned then had to do with the contracting of the audit. And now if you do not contract in a timely manner, and timely means it has to be, your fiscal year end audit contract needs to be completed by the end of that fiscal year end. So your June 30, 2025 audit contract should have been completed by June 30, 2025. So whenever I was here in August, it wasn't completed at that time, but everybody was very gung-ho about this, we're gonna get the audit in time this year. Everybody was very looking forward to that. And I went over some different other components, but there was an engagement letter that was going to be discussed, and then I do wanna clarify that the engagement letter that you all sign with your auditor is not the same thing as the audit contract. Those are two different official documents. The audit contract is what officially we approve within our office. So that is something that you all will need to make sure whenever the time comes that you're asking, has this audit contract been signed? Because that will ensure that everybody is on the same page, and that those things are moving forward in a timely manner. Now, I also mentioned with doing the audit contract that auditor availability is of utmost importance whenever you all are providing your information. So I know you have a contracted, or you had a contracted CMFO who was in charge of providing all of that information. An auditor has a schedule that is extremely full from about September to December when it comes to their audit, their other audit clients. If you have a window for your auditor and they've allotted this time for Mason to perform the audit, if the financial records are not provided to them during that window, then it has to be pushed back because they have other clients who are providing timely information for that period. And so that they've met their requirements and their obligations, and so they have to continue on with their audit process. They cannot just immediately, whenever an entity drops in their records, say, oh, hey, I'm ready. They cannot just drop what they're doing in order to continue on with the process. So with that being said, we had a late contract for 2025, which, as I talked about, was a domino effect, which can lead very often to late reporting, which is the boat that we're in now. Now, the information provided to the auditor, that was done on December the 11th of 25. And that likely had to do with having Mason's records closed. So there is a state statute that says that the books of the entity, of the municipality, must be closed within 60 days of year end. So that is something, that's a date that you all need to be aware of and that you're checking in on. Because if those books are not closed within 60 days of year end, that's one against state statute and will result in a finding. And it's an indicator of issues to come within the audit. It's not a guarantee of a late audit or things like that, but it is an indicator. So those are things to consider. Because the information was not provided to the auditor until almost mid-December, and the due date for the audit was December 31st. So again, by state law, the audit is due within 6 months of fiscal year end. So that's another timeline that you need to consider.
You said 6 months?
Yes, the audit itself.
The audit,
Yes.
okay.
So the contract is due, so to give you an example for 6/30/25, so that for that fiscal year end, Your contract for that audit year end should be completed by 6/30/25. The books for that year should be closed by August 31st, which is 60 days after year end. And the audit report is due to be filed to our office by December 31st. So those are 3 dates to be considered with the audit.
We were under the impression or understanding that all of the information was to the auditors much earlier than December.
Yes.
So we were surprised to find that they had requested an extension that the board was unaware of. And now, we thought the audit was in, but now that it was in. So we're trying to figure out, going forward, if we need to correct this, who should we look towards to fix this? The auditors or our internal, controls of
It's
the
gonna be,
information needing to go to be to the auditors?
from this point, in this scenario, the audit information was not provided to the auditor in time for them to be able to meet the deadline. And that's an internal.
Okay, explain something about that. We have two people work for the finance department now. Before, the Huey and Miss Evans, okay? The Huey, she was control everything running the system and she gave the info to Miss Evans, okay? Miss Evans, she gave it to Chris and Chris, he put the whole thing together. When we let, the Huey's goes fall down, plus Miss Evans, she had cancer. We're from behind, you know what I'm saying? So she had to hire somebody, and that time, Ms. Vanita, she stepped in. She just finished CMA for the class, and she take over, and every Tuesday, I have a meeting to report the state about what's going on up to date. When we got that information, I need 1, 2, 3, Ms. Vanita, she give it to Miss Evans. Miss Evans, she's supposed to give it to Chris. But Miss Evans, for some reason or another, I can bring her in the phone right now. She don't provide the information that he needs in timing matter. But for our side here, when Ms. Vanita she's taking over, she provide everything. Chris, she requests whatever. So after that, put like a domino. Just put us behind. We provide everything from our side, and Miss Alicia Harris, she coming up there, step helping Miss Vanita, is correct? He helping Miss Vanita to do whatever, to catch it up, what happened with Miss Evan. But this time is gone from right now, whatever. Right now, Chris, when he called, hey, I need this, we got it for you, it's correct or not?
Correct.
It's correct.
Correct.
So we right now in the right direction, because I cannot fix yesterday, can fix today and tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
This is what I'm
And-
doing right now.
And that is what our goal is. So right now, we do have a late audit. But however, as you said, information has been provided to
Correct.
the auditor in a timely manner at this point. Going forward, which is what we're looking forward to now.
Yes, we do.
For 2026.
Yep.
Now, this is a date that, again, the date we need to remember for upcoming is June 30, 2026. By that date, there needs to be a contract to audit accounts signed by both the entity and the auditor. So that needs to be complete by June 30, 26. That is going to be one of your first indicators that everything is moving in the right direction. The next is going to be ensuring that the books are closed for Mason by August 31st. And then there needs to be clear communication with the auditor for when they expect to have your records. And so that way you all can ensure that information is being provided when it's requested.
So Sarah, before, like I mentioned, Miss Evans and Chris and us. So right now, Miss Evans, she's out of the picture, so direct to Chris and Miss Vanita, he got it. He asked in the morning, she got it before the end of the day. Yep.
I have another question since the auditor's here, because I did discuss with them about the things that I thought auditors were supposed to be looking at in our audits, and no one mentioned them, so I wondered if I was, my expectations were real or not, but I thought they would catch some of the things that we've caught in the income statements and things about going way over budget on certain things, or if they weren't budgeted or appropriated. And I guess I thought that, the auditors, would come to us during the review and say, this is what we found. But yet, when I talked to, I believe it was you, Chris, where you said that it didn't meet the threshold. So I guess I was trying to figure out what the threshold was.
Okay, so as I'm not sure if you talked to me or not, but you're speaking of materiality.
Yeah.
So depending on how large that item is,
Yes.
then if it falls below our materiality, then we don't look at everything that's not material. I mean, as we can't look at every single transaction as auditors, but what we do is once we calculate our materiality,
Yeah.
then anything above that threshold, then we do look at it and investigate it.
You can't say what that materiality is. I mean,
Well, as an auditor, we can't tell you.
It also varies.
It varies.
It does vary.
it does
varies.
vary.
That's part of the
So
general
then
accepted.
how do you catch those things? If the auditors aren't, if it doesn't meet their threshold, then how do you catch those things? How are you sure that they got caught somewhere?
The review.
Internal controls.
And by review by the board. When you have those internal controls and you have other people looking at those financial
Like
statements,
the board?
and yes, and you would be looking at those items line by line as part of your duties where you're reviewing those financials. But yes, as auditors, the intention of an audit is not to look at every single transaction, and that's a common
Right.
misconception that many people do not generally understand from the first take. But it is based off of materiality thresholds, and it does vary, and it's based off of auditor professional judgment.
So if you see where someone has been paid and you assume it's payroll, but you see that it's actually out of accounts payable, then they don't question that. That is up to the board to find those things.
Not necessarily of every transaction. There is
Right.
testing that's involved and a selection of testing,
Mhm.
but it's a specific process, and it doesn't look at every transaction to determine, oh, is this correct? Is this correct? Is this correct? So it's more of a not. There are many different procedures that have to go into determining which items are selected for testing.
I have a question. When you mentioned that about when the contract has to be signed, when the books has to be closed, but you said earlier before all that every I'm just using this term, municipality has a time frame that they have to have their information into the auditor. So what is Mason's time frame? Does it vary, or is it the same each year?
It will likely vary because it has to do with your auditor's availability.
Well, yeah, it varies, but most of my clients say if we get it by August 30th, then I feel pretty comfortable we can turn around and have it in on time. But in this case, like I said, we just didn't start getting information in December, so I actually had a conversation with the mayor when we started getting it. I just let him know up front, there's no way I can make a December 31st deadline. Now, since we've gotten started on the audit, information has been flowing very well. Like I said, when I ask for something, I get it right away. We are scheduled, I extended the due date to the end of this month, and I feel like we're gonna make that date. I've been working with Ms. Evans this week and starting to put together the report. So the only thing I guess Ms. Benita is gone, but the only thing I would stress is once we get a draft report put together, then it will be on Ms. Benita and maybe Ms. Evans to help too, put together the management discussion and analysis. I can help put the report together, but that MD&A has to come 100% from this side. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that I really want us to make this deadline. And just going back a few years, I can remember giving the town the report and still waiting about another 2 to 3 weeks to get the management discussion and analysis. And so I just, let's not let that happen this year. And we can meet that deadline.
Okay, so I guess what I'm asking, and maybe you answered and I missed it, but I'm asking, she said that everyone has a time frame to get that in. What would be our time frame to have what we need to you so that you won't be started on another municipality and can't get to us because we had to be put on the back burner because we didn't get it in. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, so like Ms. Pope just said, according to state statute, books and records have to be closed within 60 days of the year end, which is August 30th. So if you were to get me that information by August 30th, then we start working on it.
Okay.
And like I say, just part of the process. But like I say, the later we get into that, into the year, and then if I don't have information by a certain date, I just go ahead and say up front, this is going to have to be extended. So if you stuck to that August 30th and just kept that and you had it to me, then we can be on time.
Well, and I'm hoping we can get on time, but like we said, we thought, the board, we were under the impression everything had been sent. That's what we were told.
Right.
That you guys had everything and that it was on time and all that, but for you to stand there, Miss Sarah,
Yes, sir.
and tell us that it wasn't, then there's some miscommunication somewhere because the board didn't know that till you tell us.
And that's where I've communicated with the auditor to determine, okay, when did this actually come in? And he's got record of when it was submitted, which was on December 11th. So what that tells me is that there is a lack of communication, and so that needs to be more clear. And so these are questions that you will need to make sure that are being addressed. To say, okay, I need proof that this has been submitted, whether it be an email from the auditor that says received as of this date, something along that line for that. And also, I do want to be clear that what Chris was referring to about the extension, that is a delinquent filing notification with our office. That is not an approved extension by our office. We do not have the authority to approve an extension. So at this point, it is just in non-compliance with state statute as a late audit. But the delinquent filing notification is notifying our office of this is when we expect it to be submitted. And this is why it has not been submitted as of the expected deadline.
Will this, the fact that we're late on this or this delinquency, will that affect the grants that we apply for or that we may be?
It will depend on what their requirements are looking for. If they want your audit filed by a specific date, it could with that. We are with, the submitted audit is related to the budget processing, approval and things like that. So the sooner we can get it in, the better. Because we are in a better spot than we have in years past.
Yep.
So it is forward movement, but we've really gotta get within that deadline on a routine basis. Because that's what's gonna really show progress.
Okay, is any way that you all, when you send your letters or saying that, okay, you're not meeting the deadline or you close to or whatever, is any way the board can be made aware of that? Can you guys make the board themselves aware so we'll know what you're sending?
Yes, we can add the board member email addresses if you all will provide those to us, and we can include the board members in the email communication.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let me ask you something. So Chris, after we finish this audit, hopefully by the end of this month, is correct?
Yes.
Can we jump on the next one? So,
Well, yeah, once I get this one submitted and finished, then I will go ahead and initiate the process for the state contract.
Yeah.
So you can meet that requirement of having a contract in place by the end of your fiscal year.
yeah, because I don't wanna wait for last minute, like we say. Like right now, he dealing with us direct, no middleman, so
Right.
like this agent, so we can give you all this information you need, so we can take care of it.
All right.
Well, appreciate you, appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
All right, and now we're gonna have.
thank you. Appreciate you. because he wants to be on the
Were we doing the update on policies or?
Hi, Rick.
As soon as he's
Thank you. We're gonna start talking about the team. Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you. Appreciate it.
For sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate the time that y'all have given us so far. As Steve already mentioned, my name's Nate Fontenot. I'm with the Comptroller's Office, and I also serve as staff to the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation. This morning, I actually woke up in Greenville, South Carolina. So just a little bit of a trip out here to Mason, Tennessee. And I say that because I think it's important to note that the four of us are here from the Comptroller's Office, James here from MTAS, and the rest of the individuals that have been here tonight are here in order to try and facilitate for the benefit of Mason's future. And there's a lot of growth in this area that's happening both in the utility side, in the corporate side with Louisville Cities that I'll discuss a little bit tonight. And honestly, Sarah and Adam have really touched base on a lot of what I wanted to say tonight. And I think the best way I can encompass that is that the town of Mason, the issues that are occurring with the city are not that y'all have late audits. It's not that y'all have internal inter-fund loan issues. It's not utility issues. It appears to be a breakdown of the communication between the board and executive, between staff and the board, a breakdown of governance, so to speak. And so I just want to be clear from the outset, I'm not here to criticize for the sake of criticism, but instead hopefully be able to provide constructive criticism and be able to discuss the areas that Mason has fallen short and the areas that Mason can improve on in the future. As Adam already said, our office really does not make a habit of going to a lot of board meetings. And when we do, it's usually to address issues that are of great concern to Division of Local Government Finance, Division of Local Government Audit, or the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation. And so I know a couple of the board members here mentioned about training and education. So I do want to provide just a brief background to the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation. It was created in 2022 by the General Assembly. It went into effect in July 1st of 2023. It was the merger of two prior existing boards, so the Water and Wastewater Financing Board and the Utility Management Review Board. Utility Management Review Board had authority over utility districts. Water Wastewater Financing Board had authority over municipal systems like the town of Mason. Those two boards were merged, and really most of the functions stayed the same. The only thing I'll note, because it applies to Mason, is that now the board has authority over municipal gas systems that, like the town of Mason. The last thing I'll mention is that the board consists of 11 members. And I bring this up because I think it's important when discussing with local officials who is on the board, right? Because I could explain that people on the board, 6 of them are appointed by Governor Lee. I could explain that 2 of them, one is appointed by Speaker of the House, one is appointed by Speaker of the Senate. But I think it's more important to explain that all of these board members are individuals like yourselves. They're board members, they're general managers, they're finance individuals within the utility sphere. And so they serve on this board for free. There's not a pay that they get per month for being a board member of the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation. And so they take the time and effort, like you all do, to come and to serve as public servants to the state of Tennessee. And so I think it's important to note that their oversight is from professionals. It's not from employees of the state of Tennessee. It's not from bureaucrats, so to speak, of the state of Tennessee. Rather, it's from individuals like yourselves who sit on utility boards across the state of Tennessee and have that experience. So with that being said, I do want to delve into the history of Mason when it comes to TBOR and the Water and Wastewater Financing Board before there. I think a lot of the concern from the utility board side started with concerns from the Division of Local Government Finance. Adam and Steve have been tackling these concerns for quite a while now, but largely I think the board cases spun out of the investigation Adam mentioned earlier. And as we've looked more into the finances of the town of Mason, more of concern has been uncovered and hopefully addressed as we go forward. And so really what we've been seeing over the past several years is what we would consider to be managerial instability. Y'all have had private contractors that you've worked with or contracted with. You've had employees that are paid for by the town of Mason as your general managers. And so there's been a lot of turnover at the town of Mason regarding the utility systems. I think that would be fair to say. And unfortunately, turnover, whether you're a town of 200 people or a town of 200,000 people, turnover often causes chaos in the midst of a municipal system. And so, with that being said, one thing I want to mention, because this is new to Tibor, so to speak, but the last two audits for the town of Mason, which is the 2023 and the 2024 fiscal years, will hopefully have the 2025 by the end of the month, but we just don't have that final paperwork yet, so we don't know as of right now. But the last two audits showed, for the town of Mason's water and sewer system, a decrease in net position of $800,000 cumulatively between those 2 years. And so, to provide just a little clarification, because the most common question we get right after that is, well, what is decrease in net position, right? Is that the same thing as a profit or a loss if you're familiar with the corporate side? And not necessarily. I think the best way to explain it is from a personal. So if I take an individual, he's 40 years old, he owns his own house, no mortgage, he owns his own car, no bank note, and he has a lot of other assets and property in his house, maybe a lawnmower, weed eaters, whatever. And then he makes $60,000 a year. And at the end of the year, he's looking back at his finances and he sees that because of maybe inflation, maybe he had some damage to his home, but he really ended up spending $70,000 during the year. So he spent $10,000 out of his savings account, and he's looking back and he's like, I didn't buy a new car, I didn't buy any what you might call long-term assets. All I bought was food and supplies and operational costs that didn't even go past the extent of the calendar year. He would be concerned because he says, I've worked a whole year and I don't have anything to show for it, right? And that's what the town of Mason is currently experiencing, is that the water fund, the water and sewer fund, has gone a full year. And it's if y'all were able to show, hey, we have this brand new plant, that would show in the audit, because that would be a capital investment, and your assets, just like the individual we're talking about, he would be able to say, well, I lost $10,000 cash, but I have a brand new car to show for it, right? And so my assets overall went up. The town of Mason was not able to show that. Instead, we have that $800,000 decrease in the last 2 years. The main concern, one, is that that is against Tennessee statute. The second is that that is considered financial distress under the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation statute. And then the third item, I would say, is that that represents about a 25% loss in the value of Mason's water and sewer system when you use the figure out of the 2024 audit. So this isn't just, hey, maybe some rounding errors or maybe just a one-time loss. If $800,000 was the loss for the city of Nashville, it would still be of concern because we take any loss to be of great concern to our office, but it would be a much smaller percentage than when we're talking about the town of Mason. The natural gas fund is in the same position where the last 2 years have seen a decrease in statutory net position. We don't have the 2025 audit, but once we do, if we see another decrease in net position for the gas fund will also now be referred under that new statute of Tibor that I mentioned to our Office for Financial Distress. And so that's from an analytical perspective, from an audit perspective and a factual perspective, that's where we're standing here today. And the reason I discussed the individual and related it to that is because I want to bring it back to the town, because when a town loses value in its utility system, it is a loss in the here and now. But it's also, the question arises, the utility system is not owned by anyone on this board, it's not owned by the state of Tennessee, it's owned by the citizens of the town of Mason. And I hope that each one of you here, just as I am entrusted as an employee of the state of Tennessee to care for the citizens of the state of Tennessee, and that is the board's main responsibility, I hope that each one of you here is able to say, I want this system to be here for my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids and my neighbors' kids, right? And to the individuals who move into the town of Mason. You all have talked a lot about growth. And I hope you all mean it, and you're saying we really want to take advantage of Blue Oval City. And as Adam mentioned Steve's donut analogy. Hopefully that's not Mason, where we see a bunch of growth in other areas of Tipton County or Haywood County or Stanton, but instead we're able to see that growth actually happen in the town of Mason. But unfortunately, with a declining system, that's hard to do. If Ross Colonna, some of y'all may know him, some of y'all may not. If Ross Colonna was here, I do know he would say one thing, and that is that utility systems are the lifeblood of Tennessee. If I can't get water, sewer, electricity, or internet, I'm not moving there. And so right now, Mason does have those things. Mason does have the potential to provide those things for future individuals. But right now, we're looking at the finances and we're saying there's not really the availability for Mason to expand its services if you're already seeing a decrease in that position. And so the question is, well, what about 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now? Will the town of Mason still have a water and sewer system, or will it just have never been cared for and result in a sewer system and a water system not worth anything? And so one thing I want to mention is because often when a regulator says, hey, you have a problem, you have a shortfall in revenue, oftentimes board members, the first thing they hear is, well, we need to raise rates, we need to conduct a rate study, we maybe even cut expenses. And I think those are all great things, and I commend boards who take the responsibility of doing those beforehand. But I think that revenue without strategy is a temporary relief. And so if I were to ask each one of you individually on a one-on-one conversation, what is your one-year plan for Mason? And then we come back to a board, I would hope, not just with Mason, but with any town, that there would be some type of continuity between the answers that I receive. Or if I ask, what is the 5-year plan or 10-year plan? There should be continuity between the board, because if there's not continuity between the board, as I think we've all mentioned so far, is that's where the shortfall is happening. Is that maybe each of you have a different vision for the town. And maybe it's a really great vision. I think y'all are here in an effort to serve your community. And so hopefully you each have a vision that says, hey, this is where I want Mason to be in 5 years. Maybe it's not written down on a piece of paper, but it's in your mind. And so that's what I would ask, is that you all work together as a single board to promote the best service to your customers and to the citizens here in Mason. And so I think the question is Mason's infrastructure positioned to support that, whether it's growth in numbers of customers or if it's just growth in how you support and care for your customers and your citizens. I think the concern is that right now Mason is operating on when it breaks, we fix it mentality. And so if the town of Mason were a boat, and the strategy right now is, well, whenever there's a hole, that we patch it. And so I think, like I said earlier, that's a temporary relief. The strategy should be, how do we switch boats? How do we rebuild the boat? And there are many ways about doing that. One I would suggest is obviously working with our office, working with MTAS, working with your auditor, working with accounting firms that you may be contracted with. What I've seen in towns across Tennessee is that when it comes to dire circumstances for a municipality, it's not necessarily just about what the board can do, but it's what the board can do through contracts and through third parties and through state agencies. As Sarah already mentioned, the audit for 2025 is currently late. I know y'all have been more late, so to speak, in the past, but I don't want to necessarily say, well, that improvement is good and so we can go about our day, because that audit is what holds this board accountable and what holds this town accountable to the citizens of Mason, but also to the state of Tennessee. And so without that audit, our office is unable to say with any certainty whether or not, with Adam being your financial analyst, is the budget any good, to put it bluntly. Sarah and their team with local government audits unable to say, well, were things kept in correct manner and according to GAAP, right? And to your citizens, they're not able to say, well, how were my tax dollars used in an accountable and in a correct manner? And so the last thing I want to discuss, and hopefully kept it a little bit brief tonight, but is that of regionalization and consolidation. And I know that this is always a sore topic, whether I'm talking to Mason or I'm talking to any other city in the state of Tennessee, is when they hear regionalization, consolidation, it causes a lot of heartburn, it causes a lot of grief. And that's often due to the fact that the care that the board has in the utility system. and to not wanting to let that child, so to speak, go from the purview. But again, I return and I say that just like I, as an employee of the state of Tennessee, just as the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation as appointees for the state board, a state board in Tennessee, and you all at the local level are elected to be as public servants to your citizens. The question that I would leave y'all with is the question of what can we do as a governing body to better serve the citizens of Mason and to better improve our position as a town, whether financially or operationally. And sometimes, unfortunately, that does mean consolidation. That does mean regionalization of a utility system. If I'm standing here and I say, well, I'm producing, let's say, a part, manufacturing part, and I'm producing all the parts that go into this item that I build and then I sell across the country. And I look next door and Steve's got another factory and he's building the exact same part, but he's building it for 20 cents cheaper. I should just contract with Steve to build that part to create the final item. And unfortunately, that is the case with some utility systems. I know the term bigger is always better, especially with government, causes a lot of heartburn and a lot of concern. But what I would say about utility systems is that the larger they are, oftentimes the stronger they are. And so when you build relationships with nearby communities, that can actually benefit the customers. Maybe it's just more reliable service. Maybe it's cheaper service. I'm not entirely certain. The only thing I would mention is that oftentimes from boards we hear the concern, which is, well, we'll lose our authority, we'll lose our control over the system. And what if this neighboring system takes the new customers and they discriminate against them? Or what if they don't treat them fairly or charge them a different rate structure? Then what I would say, and I would say this to any board, is that myself and the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation would be very, very, very involved in that situation. It doesn't matter whether it's a merger or whether y'all have been in the business of utilities for 100 years. Our office is always going to be concerned about allegations or concerns regarding unfair practices. The state code even says that utility rates shall be fair, reasonable, and justifiable. And so if a utility system is to merge or consolidate with a nearby system, that does not take any responsibility off of that other governing body to be able to say, here's what the charges are, here's what the fees are, and to make sure, and for our office to make sure that they're fair, reasonable, and justifiable. I think the last thing I'll add, I know I keep saying last thing I would add, but really the last thing I would add is what I've seen over my time talking to local governments is that a local government should not be defined by an arbitrary line in the sand that was drawn 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Local government should be defined by the citizens that make it up, the relationships that are built in the town. And so what I would urge y'all to do as a board is to look not necessarily at from the perspective of being a committee that's here to enforce actions and to look at it just from a purely financial perspective, though that is important. And I don't want to diminish what Adam and Sarah have spoken about for sure. But what I would urge y'all to do is to look at it from a how can we better serve, not necessarily the citizens of Mason, but instead how can I better serve my neighbor or my friend or the people I go to church with or the people that my kids go to school with or that I went to school with or that I've known and grown up with for the last 30, 40, 50 years of my life. Because I truly believe that that is what makes towns, municipalities, cities, counties in Tennessee, that's what makes them strong. It's not the borders that define where they're incorporated. And so with that, I know Steve had some follow-up, and I do believe we have a question, but I appreciate y'all's time.
Yes, you said that, we're at an $800,000 loss over this period of 2 years. And I wanna know, does that mean it's too late to come up with a solution or solutions that might involve more of an analysis so that the board, for example, could maybe determine or have suggestions as to how we can better the utilities? Because, we have somebody operating it on a day-to-day basis, but I don't think we've communicated enough with Tibor to understand, what are some of the solutions.
Right.
For us to come out of this, or if there's even time. I know we've discussed, Poplar Grove and consolidating that. However, we also know that they do not want Mason, because their board voted no. So we didn't have a lot to say about that, but, I just feel like possibly some of us could have some ideas on how to change this. If we could,
I have the answer for you. I have
Well,
the answer.
I'm asking him
Sure,
if it's
sure.
too late.
No, and I would say it's never too late. That's the great part about utilities in Tennessee is that they're very resilient, especially gas systems, but even water and sewer systems. And so I would say the first step, and to be perfectly honest with you, this has been a long-suffering problem of Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation, has been the town of Mason. And from the start, what should have happened is the board requires a rate study, the rate study is completed, and the new rates are imposed. And 90% of the time, that fixes your issue with a local government. Because a lot of times, the board has a very strong connection to their community, and you don't want to be the one that says, I'm going to raise rates by 10%, 15%, 20%, when your neighbors are sitting right there, right? So I understand that, and a lot of times it just requires Tibor coming in, giving that nudge and saying, hey, you have to do it now. But unfortunately, that really didn't correct the problems that we see in Mason. And that's why I really started off by saying, I don't think it's just a policy issue. I don't think it's just a late audit issue. I don't think it's just a utility issue.
Right,
There seems to be an operational governance issue.
yes, and I understand that, and that's why I was asking if it was too late, if we had some ideas, or we could look into that, because, this is the first time I'm really aware of this type of situation where it's this way. But I think maybe some good, would we work with Tibor itself, or would we work with Tibor that is with MTAS, for example, a consultants?
So,
Or if we wanted to find out more about
right.
how we could correct it?
So what I will say is that as board staff, I'm always more than happy to help and to work with y'all if you have questions or concerns. The issue, if I understand, or if I remember correctly, the issue with the rate study that was ordered a while back was the audits. And so most rate study companies don't do a rate study until the audits are called up, right? And so if the audits aren't called up, they don't really have anything to base projections on. And so that was the concern in the past. And that's why I say Tibor has really had this long-standing issue with the town, just because we feel like we can't, or the board feels like they can't really take action, because it's like, well, we could require a rate study, but there's no audits to support that
Yeah,
stuff.
we did a rate study,
Mhm.
we raised the rates, but it was, 4 months late in being delayed. So I don't know if that would have had any bearing on the eventual outcome.
And remind me again when y'all raised the rates.
Pardon me?
When y'all raised those rates, when did they go into effect?
2022, 2023, I believe so.
It was March
When,
or April.
when we raise the rate, the utility.
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
You raised the water rates 25%, maybe a year and a half ago. But what I wanted to tell Nate and to Andrew Moore, because it sounds like they don't know either, the company Rate Studies is working as a sub-consultant to us right now, doing a water and sewer rate evaluation. And I have talked to Ross, Nate, just a little bit about it. He does know Letty Petty. The Rate Studies are working on this. And we've been working closely with Ms. Vernita. And we want to, in the first week in March, talk about having a work session with your board or a steering committee to talk about exactly what Nate was talking about. I had not thought of it in terms of 2 years totaling 800,000, but I think we've talked later about how you lost 340 or so, 23 and 24 it was like 440. So it's a problem we've got to dig out of.
okay. Ray,
Yes.
I I don't know, I want you to follow what I say, if you don't mind, please. I appreciate it for your report, and I agree with you 100%, but I'm just letting you know what we did since I took over. 2023, we was in very bad shape, utility wise, very, very bad shape. I'm professional, no license, nothing, you're above whatever it is. So, Miss Brazil, with the state of Tennessee, you say, hey, you have to get professional people to run it, to do it. So we got the professional people, but we face 4 problems. The only thing put us in the red with that, number 1, the leaks. You know, I fix here, since I have been there, over 85 leaks. We lost a lot of water. You remember, Rick? Rick, you remember we fixed over 80 leaks up there. It's number 1.
You've done a good job at reducing.
Okay. Number two, people is not billed correctly. The SEF of it, you know, and we stopped that, okay? Because some people pay minimum bill $21 for years and years, and nobody's saying nothing. We stopped that, okay? Number 2. Number 3 is, we bring everything home, because we used to contract people, we bring everything home. So with all this one, game changes with that. We did a lot of progress since I have been there. I know I don't have the magic touch to do everything overnight, but we did whatever we supposed to do. We direct from Ross Colano. I could communicate with him all the time, and Edwin, Steve, and Shiva, and we did it. We passed it, and the rate study showing we in the progress. We not like I used to.
Well, so, and I commend y'all for the progress that you've made. You're discussing the leak specifically, because correcting leak or water loss is a big portion of what T-Board is set up to do. But the concern is that y'all have actually gotten worse since 2020. And so that's really the concern by T-Board, I'm sure, because I don't know if they've seen the 2024 audit yet, because I don't remember when that was released.
We got it worse, Rick, or not? Rick,
Yes,
did we get it worse or not?
and 24 was worse than 23, but I'm really anxious to see what 25 says, because the 24 audit had the Alliance Water contract,
Correct.
and that's when you fixed, it was a year or 2 years ago now, when y'all went through, you lost your water system for about 2 weeks, and you spent a bunch of money fixing leaks, and that showed up in that 24 audit, and I wanna see what 25 says. I hope to goodness it's better, but, well, you know, I wanted 2024 to be better than 23. So we'll see. If Nate's right, and it's gonna be ready, next month, so we'll all be anxious to see what it says.
Appreciate
And
it.
hopefully it is better, because I don't think you would have spent as much money, in 25 as you did in 24.
We'll bring everything is home. You know, we don't have to pay our lines. We don't have to pay somebody else. Everything is home. Plus, we got the meters. We're gonna, when we using the meters, digital meter coming, it will be a cut Laura. It's against us too. You know, I control it more.
And they are replacing all of the water meters, in 2026, so, we probably receive better revenue on water and sewer, just from, because I don't think we know how old some of the meters are.
Sure. And again, like I said, I think that's the steps that need to be taken, part of the steps that need to be taken, because I think it's important for a rate study to be completed and assist the town and you all in knowing where y'all are at and what steps forward you need to take. But I think it's more than, if that's the only solution, that's just a temporary solution.
Right.
So again, I appreciate Ricky discussing where they're at in the rate study and all that. but I would again say that I think y'all need to look at it from more than just a revenue stream
Okay,
perspective.
well, appreciate you.
For
Thank you,
sure.
Ray. Thank you.
I think that what could have, well, I think, but what could have contributed to this $800,000 loss, there was a switch left on at Public Works, where we lost $500,000 of water. Literally flooded the whole street, so I'm pretty sure that contributed a lot to that loss. I just wanted to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and that's as crazy as it sounds. That's not the first time that I've heard of a story like that, right? Of where a switch was left on, and again, that's why I'm saying I think it's good to have a rate study, but I don't think it's just a revenue problem, right? There needs to be, as Adam discussed earlier, controls in place so we don't leave switches on, right? And so I think if y'all can approach it from that angle with, a revenue, keeping in mind the financials, I think that's.
Thank you.
I know you may not be able to answer this question, but maybe, based on population for the town or the number of water and utilities that we serve, what would you say would be the typical amount or number of, say, public utility workers to do the service for a town our size?
Remind me again y'all's connection number, because I know it increased because of or decreased because of the prison, and then it re-increased the number of connections y'all had. Does anyone have that number? Number of connections.
We have how many people are being serviced?
Right, customers. How many customers?
Yeah, what is that, 1,200?
1,200. So that's a fairly large system by rural Tennessee standards. At least, I mean, there's plenty of systems out there that have 110 connections, right? So that's a fairly large system by, like I said, rural Tennessee standards. That would probably be a better question for MTAS, maybe. I don't know if James would have that answer, but generally I would say for just the water and sewer side, at least, if y'all are doing all the maintenance on it and reading all the meters, and is it digital meter reading by radio, or is it?
We're still working on it. We don't have a digital. We do it all fashioned.
So that's going to take y'all
Still manual.
longer,
Yeah,
right? You're probably talking. Yeah, go ahead, Ricky.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It is going to be an AMI system.
Right. So, and Ricky, feel free to answer this question as well, as far as how many employees for the water and sewer system for a 1,200 connection system. But I would anticipate having somewhere between 3 to 7 field workers, somewhere in that range, and then obviously office staff. But as Adam's already mentioned, office staff sometimes is split between gas, water, sewer, property tax billing, right? So.
One of the things we looked at in the feasibility study that we turned into the T-board entity study, and I think the board's seen it too, is we looked at about 12, maybe as many as 18, I don't know, utilities in the surrounding area that were similar size, similar towns that have water and sewer, and compared expenses, and we divided them out by the number of, made it a unit expense per customer, and Mason was on the higher side of expenses. And one of the things that we need to do as the engineer and board and staff is talk about how are there things that we are doing in our operations that we can improve. And I think we've identified some things. We even in the feasibility study posed some ideas to cut expenses and not hurt services.
Thank you, Rick. All right, finish it up. Good. Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming, it's a big help, and
Yeah,
we're gonna communicate more, and we'll try to see how we're gonna broach it, how we take care of it, and appreciate you for your help.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you,
Anytime.
Rick.
And I know, I think Steve's in the back, but I think Steve wanted to wrap it up here.
Well, Steve's coming up. Can I make a couple of comments?
You there?
Just a quick follow-up on what you're talking about utilities, lost water doesn't equate to lost revenue in the way that you normally think about it, because all you're losing is the water that came out of the ground. You're losing, you treated it, and then it went through, but it was never metered, and it's not a dollar loss. It's just, you lost the cost of treating water, which is no way parallel to what you'd be getting from bill customer good. The other thing that makes it hard to know exactly how many employees you should have and what's comparable is that y'all pool all of your employees. You have water and gas and all of those working together, and it's almost impossible to follow those employees and know what part of their day is public works, what part is gas, and what part. So you do some allocations, you do some splits, but it's not a true cost, and you don't have a good true cost of what your public services cost you, what your gas employees cost you. And the way you do it in your budget, to me, is the hard way. You should have public works employees in the general fund budget and pay them public works money. Pay gas employees and pay water and sewer employees, instead of pulling them all together and then trying to figure out what part of their work day was water, sewer, and gas. So the other thing I wanted to say is sitting and listening to what you've heard tonight. One is that you really need to accept that this meeting should never happen again. That you don't need to have meetings like this. Having this many people from the comptroller's office come down to talk to you should be an indication that things are broken and things need to be fixed. I know it's overwhelming and it's maybe daunting right now, but MTAS has some people who are way better at this than I am. We've got some of the best utility experts in the state that work for MTAS, some of the best municipal attorneys in the state of Tennessee work for MTAS. Some of the best municipal financial experts in the state work for MTAS. So the board has to start this process of asking questions and asking us for help, and we'll come in and help you take these things down one by one. The board of mayor and aldermen are ultimately, you're the managers of the town of Mason. You're responsible for Mason. You're responsible for how it is managed. You're responsible for what happens. And as a board, you have the authority to put things in place to have things happen the way you want it to happen. I use the story about Murphy's Law. Everybody knows Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law says if something can't go wrong, it will go wrong. What a manager does, and what you do as a manager, is you try to develop systems. You try to design procedures and processes and systems so that things can't go wrong. And then when they do go wrong, you adjust those systems so they can't go wrong again. So what Steve is going to talk to you about adopting internal processes and internal controls, this strikes at the heart of how you want to manage the town of Mason. And every time, no matter what it is, every time something happens, whether it's a small thing or a big thing, the board needs to come together and say, how do we keep that from ever happening again?
That's right.
And the board needs to speak through 4 votes. When you sit and talk about something at a meeting and then don't take action and nothing happens, and all the conversations just kind of fall on deaf ears. So the board needs to start looking at the internal procedures, the internal processes, and start fixing them. You're not following HR procedures. You're not following purchasing procedures. You're not following budgeting laws and budgeting rules. You've got to start adopting those processes one by one to put procedures in place so that things cannot go wrong. You had this embarrassment a few years ago where people were indicted because they stole from you. Anytime something goes wrong, anytime something happens, it is an embarrassment or makes the news. People are going to come and they're going to ask you a question, and the first question is going to be, when did you know about it? And then they're going to ask you, what did you know about it? Or what did you do about it? Those are tough questions, but the harder questions is, what what should you have known? Okay, you're in charge, so you're never gonna be able to say, well, wasn't my place to know. You're in charge, so you should have known. And then the other question is, what should you have done about it? So you wanna be able to answer those questions every time, no matter what the issue is, whether it's a big issue or a small issue. When you find a problem, you see something's not working right, you need to fix it. And that's what Steve is gonna be talking about internal controls, internal procedures. We had some training in the town of Carville with our employees. We brought in people and we were gonna do this long session on fraud. And the employees were a little bit put off because we did fraud training. It's like, y'all treating us like crooks. You know, like, we're not gonna steal money. You know, we're good people. That's not what we do. We're not gonna do that. And I explained to them that fraud is about protecting you. Because we're putting procedures in place so that you will always be protected. You're good, honest people, but at any point in time, somebody could accuse you of stealing or misappropriation of funds or doing something wrong. If you don't have the policies and procedures and the documentation and everything to back up that prove your innocence, you're not gonna be able to prove your innocence, and in the public eye, everybody's gonna think, even if you were never charged with a crime, they're gonna think you did it and got away with it. So fraud protects the people who work for you. Fraud protects your employees, and they protect you. So processes and procedures are the board's way of managing the town and getting the outcomes that you want. So, there are a lot of them that you need to be working on. And like I said, I'm not the one to do them all, but there are a lot of people at MTAS who will help you adopt these. Tell us what the problem is. Tell us what you want to do to fix it. We'll bring you some processes to help you fix it.
Thank you, Jim, appreciate it. Rick, you still there? Rick?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to stay with us, thank you.
I know it's been a late evening, and I appreciate
Appreciate you for coming.
Appreciate you. But I wanna give y'all the opportunity. We were here in October or November, and we started purchasing. Jane helped y'all get that together. Would love to be here tonight and see y'all be able to finish that up. If y'all wanna take that ordinance up and bring it to a vote.
Is Carson here right?
And then bring the resolution up to adopt the, making sure my memory serves me
Talking
correctly.
about the
second vote.
purchasing agent,
To
I think the Carson here right or not?
and we don't, he can write a resolution
You
now.
can write it, yeah.
You've already done it.
Because he said, we cannot vote for a meeting until you have to be a resolution, you have to tell him adopt it, because we used to do it wrong, you remember
No, I
back
mean,
then?
do we can, have the resolution after
Yeah.
we, make the
But we have
motion
to
and
do
adopt it, right?
You can
We
do it
have to
after.
do the language, how we doing it.
It can be done after.
But,
It can be done after.
okay, but the mayor's saying it can't be.
You have to be the attorney, like before, we used to do that, we vote on it, but, the attorney, he said, you have to communicate with him so he can write it the proper language. We put it in a resolution, and after that, we vote on it in the board meeting.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Mayor, I think you're talking about two different things. We're talking about the purchase and procedure policy that, we need to go ahead and vote on. You're talking about also the resolution, but we can vote on the policy, and then the resolution can come and we can vote on that.
And y'all have the resolution. It was in.
We do
packet.
have the resolution,
It was from
yeah.
the November. So the problem is
think we voted on
your current policy was adopted by ordinance.
Yeah,
It's not very nimble to have your policy adopted by ordinance, because then you gotta have two different meetings to make a change.
mhm.
So what James pulled together is you're going to sunset the ordinance. This vote tonight is the second vote. That will sunset your current policy, and then immediately you will adopt the resolution adopting your new policy.
right.
The same one you discussed in November, October, November?
Don't remember.
Yeah, it's been a few months because of the snowstorm. But, so this this is just a parliamentary procedure to take up what y'all have discussed.
I have the resolution right
Okay.
here,
I have
and
mine
it's already been
Yeah.
done.
So
And
that,
for the purchasing, agent, I can read that and we can go
We
ahead.
approved Ms. Benita for that, correct?
Yeah, we did.
Well,
we tabled
yeah,
it
we
because she
can
wasn't
read
here
it,
and we had questions.
resolution number R 1215225-3. A resolution designating a purchasing agent in accordance with adopted purchasing procedures for the town of Mason, Tennessee. Whereas the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the town of Mason, Tennessee desire to identify a purchasing agent and delegate duties for the purchasing agent. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board and Mayor of Aldermen of the town of Mason in Tennessee as follows. Section 1, the finance director is hereby designated as purchasing agent for the town of Mason. The finance director acting as purchasing agent shall faithfully discharge all purchasing duties. Purchases shall be made in accordance with state law.
Thank you.
This ordinance and purchasing procedure approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Great.
Shall I go ahead?
Yeah,
Finish it?
finish it.
Section 2, in absence of the finance director, the town clerk shall serve as the purchasing agent during the period of the finance director's absence. In the event of an extended absence, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall appoint a person to fill the town clerk, to fill the extended absence. In the event of the absence of both the finance director and the town clerk, the finance director shall designate a person to fill his or her vacancy until his or her return. The purchasing agent or designated representative as provided herein shall purchase materials, supplies, services, and equipment, provide for leases, lease, purchase, and dispose of surplus property in accordance with the purchasing procedure approved and adopted by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And I make a motion that we, pass this resolution.
If we vote on it the first, we need the second, right? The second one?
Mason second.
This,
did
I'm
already.
asking,
We-
you
no,
vote
this is
on it
over.
for the first one?
Yes,
It's not the-
we tabled it.
This is a resolution, there's only one reading of the resolution.
Yeah, resolution's only one reading, so this is,
I
I'm
have
sorry.
who had first?
I had the first.
Ms. Harris had first, Ms. Mason, she's the second. Any questions? I need a vote.
Rivers, yes.
Mason, yes.
Harris, yes.
Mary, yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yes.
So 5-4, it was just for the camera, so Ms. Lewis, she have to understand, you know, we did it 5-0. So we have to take it to the next board meeting or no?
No,
No,
no.
That's it.
no, you
She's
just need
she's
to,
designated the purchasing agent.
you've just got a second.
That's what we
vote on the
discussed before.
Yes.
Yes, it's
Yes.
same thing.
So we had first reading on the original ordinance to adopt the purchasing policies and procedures, or excuse me, to sunset purchasing policies and procedures. You need a second reading on that ordinance, and you need to approve that one on second reading.
I have the ordinance, the second.
What you
I
talking
read
about?
this. This was, an ordinance establishing a maximum amount for purchases without public advertisement and competitive bidding.
That's already been
Yeah.
voted on.
Is that the one you're talking about?
No.
No, no,
We
it's an
voted
ordinance.
on that.
It's the ordinance.
We already
You're-
did that?
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh,
have
yeah.
an existing
I thought we-
set, although outdated, of purchasing policies and procedures that were established by ordinance. There's, the rule of law is that anything adopted by ordinance can only be undone by ordinance. And so you have to do away with, you have to get rid of your old purchasing policies and procedures by adopting an ordinance to basically wipe that one off the books. Then you're gonna adopt your new purchasing policies and procedures by resolution, which makes it a lot easier for you to make changes in procedural, changes to the purchasing policies and procedures.
Okay, this was an ordinance basically to increase the amount,
Yes.
For how much?
the dollar amount for the bidding, where bid was required.
15,000, something like that.
Yeah, let's see, that's,
I think he's
5,000.
looking at the purchasing policy.
25,000
You have to get a million
required
for
for purchase of goods.
25,000
Okay,
for
so,
that.
but this is not the one that you're talking
No,
about.
he's talking about the resolution adopting the purchases procedure for the town of Mason. That's.
Okay, that's
That
the
would
one.
be your
that.
second
We
vote.
passed
that- that-
The next vote, if you so choose, would be the second vote of your ordinance that sunsets your current policy, so that you can adopt that policy as your now current policy. So if you want that, if y'all want that policy, sunset the previous one, and then pick that one out.
Yeah.
We can put it in the agenda.
So we can
in the
make a-
board meeting.
So what we need to do is make a motion to sunset our old policy.
Well, the second vote.
The second vote.
Second vote, yeah,
The second vote to, override the old one for the new policy.
correct,
Purchasing policy.
correct.
Or can we make a motion
I
that
did
we
the-
can update and, vote on, policies and adoption, at the next meeting? Can that be put on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Well, it's on this agenda, but if you
Now
wanted
we
to
can
move
put
it,
it in the
you
board
can move
meeting.
it, that is y'all's choice.
Okay, so then, I make a
Which one you
motion that,
talking about?
what?
Which was you talking about?
I'm talking about, I'm talking about, the ones that we have that we're trying to, vote on. It can be added to the agenda if we request
Maybe
it
it's
at
something
this
that
meeting.
Carson needs to
You
look
have
at
to
since
look at it.
y'all,
This we
Carson,
have
if
to
y'all
look
got,
at it.
if y'all
Carson
got,
the one wrote them.
but y'all, it seems like y'all don't get, y'all not having an understanding of what is supposed, what we supposed to be doing. And if he was here, he could explain it better because they're saying one thing, then y'all are saying something else, so it's like, it's miscommunication. If he was here, he would be able to explain what we need to do as opposed to what.
Well,
We're trying to.
my understanding with Robert's rules is that
Monday,
you're
we have,
allowed to
we have
add
the
it.
meeting.
I think our lawyer needs to be in on that.
So what you should do, if you wanna move it to the next agenda,
Yeah,
is make a
temporary.
motion to include it on your next agenda.
Yeah.
The ordinance, the second reading of the ordinance and the adoption of the resolution.
Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I
we do
I
that.
was trying to do.
So I
Okay.
would tell you to make a motion so that it's clear that it'll be on your next agenda.
We have the board meeting is Monday. Next Monday, so
The
we can
20
put it in the agenda.
The
Think he gonna
23rd.
make that
Yeah.
motion?
Okay, I make a motion that we, add to the agenda of the February the 23rd board meeting, the updates on the policies and to read the ordinance? No. Tell me.
It have to be the correct one.
Second reading of the ordinance to delete the existing purchasing policies.
Okay, second reading of the ordinance to delete the existing purchasing policies.
And
And-
consideration of a resolution to adopt a new purchasing policies and procedures.
In consideration of the adoption of that
Consideration of a resolution
resolution.
to adopt new purchasing policies and procedures. And I'll get with Ms. Loretto tomorrow and tell her how to capture the
Yeah,
agenda.
just let him write it.
But you gotta go ahead and make
Okay.
the motion and put it on the agenda.
Okay, I made the motion, sort of.
Whatever he said.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
I have a first by Alderman Harris, I need the second,
Mason second.
Alderman Mason second. Any questions? I need a vote. Mercy, yes.
Harris, yes. Oh, I'm sorry,
Rachel, yes.
I didn't mean to speak over you.
So,
Mason, yes.
Mason,
so we have 5-0,
okay.
okay? That's it?
Alright, and before I close, you've got a spot on here that's a great opening. Mandy, if you could join us, Mandy has, what would like the board's attention for a quick note here, if you want.
Hi, Mandy, come on
How
here,
y'all?
please.
Mandy. I'm Mandy Barfield. I'm the property manager of Mason Manor Apartments over here.
Hey, listen, Rick, what, just listen.
Uh, Mr. Rick, I'm Mandy Barfield. I'm the property manager at Mason Manor Apartments over here on Charleston Mason Road. I moved here in October of 2023. Is Dolores your Rick, okay, I know who you are now. Okay, so you gonna know what I'm talking about. There is a problem that I've been having and I've been calling and since 2023 trying to find somebody that I can talk to or somebody that will call me back about this problem. And it's about that sewage pump out there. It's right in our backyard. So, you know, it works when it wants to. It's really not even the correct pump for that. It's not big enough for that. I have 24 units out there. I have tenants that have had to move, have had to replace all their belongings. You cannot sit outside out at times because of the sewage, the gas coming out of it. Raw sewage lays in the ditches on both sides of it. I have complained about this. The company that I work for in Mississippi, they have complained about this. They've called City Hall, tried to get in touch with people. Nobody will answer. Nobody will call back. Nobody will email back. I have videos. I have plenty of complaints. And my tenants don't deserve to live like that. I'm pretty sure that that's something that it's a health and safety violation or breaking some kind of rule with OSHA or somebody like that. And I'm just wondering, in 3 years, why this is still a problem.
Can you answer for that, Rick?
I don't know if I can answer about the 3-year part of it. We did try replacing the pump, and that has not worked. We have designed and the state has approved a new plan, and we are trying right now to figure out a way in an emergency situation to get this work underway. I can tell you that the mayor has pushed hard, and the board wants this problem solved. So from my end, we're trying. The board is trying, and we have right now 2 contractors that are trying to get a price together to do the work in 2 phases. I'm not convinced. I'll just tell you this. I'm not convinced that the pump is the problem. I think maybe the force main is collapsed or clogged in some way, and it is preventing the pump from running and then causing the overflows. But the plan is to replace everything, the pumps, the control panel, and the force main all the way to the manhole. And we got to make sure that we just spend close to 2 hours, I guess, talking about how the water and sewer fund does not have any money.
Let me hang on. Let me stop you right there.
That's not your concern.
I know, but I got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was watching the news last night and our mayor was on there. So Mason was given $2 million for sewage and water repairs, but we don't have, as a town, we don't have the funds for that.
We do. We're working on it.
Well, he just said we did.
I will try to answer this question. We originally, and the mayor and the board knows this, the Charleston Mason pump station was in that funding to be replaced. And then the state said issues at the sewer treatment plant are a higher priority than that individual pump station. And we had to do work at the sewer plant instead of the pump station. So now we've shifted, and the board's good. They're trying. They're going to try to build the pump station improvements with their own money, without grant money. But it's just really difficult, and I am so sympathetic with the people that live in the area, and the board is too. We're trying, and if you can bear with us, things,
I'm gonna ask you this. Will you, if I give you my email address, email me some numbers to the state so I can talk to somebody there myself? Because the closed mouth don't get fed for one, and my mouth has been open since 2023 about this. And honey, I don't mean any disrespect to you, but I do not believe anything you just said.
okay.
Mr. Oakley, can I ask you,
Yeah, I understand that.
Ricky, can I ask you a question? This is Alderman Harris. Did the board not change the order of things so that that pump over there in Charleston Mason Road would come first on our list?
Well, we changed it where you were gonna pay for it out of city funds. And the grant was not gonna pay for it. Because we tried to open bids, for that project. When we opened bids for the well and for the water meter replacement, and we received no construction bids at that time.
So we received no bids. What kind of expense are you talking about? Do you have any idea?
What the construction cost would be?
Well, yes.
90,000.
I'm thinking the construction cost will be between 200 and 300,000.
Let me be correct about the whole thing for the state, for the citizen, for everybody knows, for Amanda, I understand. I mean,
My name's not Amanda.
I mean,
Whatever my name is.
I apologize about it. But the end of the day is, we have this problem for almost 20 years, okay? And we have a lawsuit from Miss Linda Smith across the street from it, before my time. And we have this issue for years and years and years, okay? When I coming up there, I had Richard Murphy. He tried to helping us to doing it free. But the board shut him down, and he let him go with that because he tried to help 2023 when I was there. The board is saying he's not qualified to do that. He's the biggest construction company. He built a 2 subdivision. I can bring him in the board. I let him talk with everybody about it. But the end of the day is we spent it. We changed the pumps like 2, 3, 4 times. Something wrong up there. We call Cultural Electric. The guy he's doing all the stuff. But the way I understand is the whole thing is too small for the area up there. We have to make it bigger for that. So right now we bypass it until we get it from the board. Hey Rick, did I try to get bet on it like about 2, 3, 4 times? Nobody bite on it. When we put the project for the wells and the sewer, is correct or not?
That's correct. We tried to open bids on it.
But nobody bite for it. Did you know?
But
Might be right.
But the
Wait a
problem.
minute, he said but. Did I hear what he's gonna say?
What'd you say, Rick?
we didn't receive bids. I was actually concerned that you probably do not have enough money to pay for the station. My approach right now is I think we want to get a contractor as an emergency to replace that 400 feet or 300 feet of force main because the pump that was in the station, other than
It's too small.
maybe if it wore out,
Yep.
and the pump that was replaced, both were strong enough to pump that water from that wastewater from that station to that manhole, and I can't for the life of me figure out why that did not happen unless the force main by chance is collapsed or clogged, and it would be a whole lot cheaper right now to replace 300 feet of pipeline for the town in your financial situation, connect it to the existing pump and see what happens. Is what I was working to try to get done.
What kind of cost are you talking about by doing it that way and replacing the pipe instead?
Did John get in touch with you, Rick?
I'm gonna guess that a contractor, if he said, and I'm gonna pull out the calculator, this may be on the high side, but
Did John, he got in touch with you or Thomas?
no, I never spoke with him.
I sent to you.
If it's,
So is there a lack of communication?
If
Is that what he's
it
saying?
was to average out that work was between $30 and $50 a foot. That's just me just guessing, cause I'm not a contractor, but you'd be looking at 15, 30 times 400.
120.
That's $12,000, somewhere between $12,000 and $20,000, maybe what that would cost to replace that pipe instead of $200,000 if we got into doing a lot of pump work.
Well, that,
And even if the pumps do need replaced, but this, if we could make it work right now and take care of the problem that the citizens are experiencing, it relieves a terrible situation, and then you get in a better position to actually put the right size pumps in that area has a great potential to even grow.
Yes, it's correct.
well, that's a big savings. The problem is, what you're saying is that even after that savings and you do that, you're not sure it's gonna work. Is that what you're
I
saying?
think that's what I'm
Will be
saying,
work.
but it was gonna, right now, when we replaced the pump, that had plenty of pressure, head pressure capability to push the water from that pump station to that manhole, and then I hear it doesn't work.
When is he
I
talking
don't
about?
know how to deal with, do we put another one in and it still doesn't work?
Talking about
Let's
replacing
replace
the pipe
force
instead
main,
of the pump.
and we replace that 400 feet of line, and then,
The line is too small.
we were gonna change it from a 2-inch to a 4-inch.
You see? Change
Hey,
it, make it 2 inches more.
Do y'all have a
And then
camera?
that 4-inch,
No, no.
Could you
some
feed
growth.
the camera through, see if it's flat?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
want-
I have
think
one to
what-
come out to
while we're
Mason
talking
Lane
about,
and they tell me,
I have asked the well
it's gonna keep
driller,
on happening to hear that.
are y'all listening?
Yeah, we're listening. Go.
Okay, I have asked the well drilling contractor, because he's laying a pipeline from the well, across the fire department, across Main Street, in between City Hall and the fire station to the water plant. He's got pipeline work in his contract. I've asked him to give us a price to do, I said, we can't mix it with the ARP work, but because you're already contracted with the town, maybe we could say this is an emergency and give us a good price to, while you're here, go lay that 400 feet of pipe and connect the pump that's in there to the existing pipe.
Hey,
Or
Rick.
to the future pipe.
Hey, Rick,
Rick.
1 second. Listen.
Rick, this is Nate. I just want to make sure, because I get where everybody's coming from and we're all trying to kind of brainstorm a solution here and it's kind of last minute. But I just want to make sure that we understand, or at least have a clear perspective on this. What I'm hearing right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we currently have a situation where there's customers of the town of Mason who are experiencing raw sewage in either their homes or their property backing up. And what you're saying, and I know you're the engineer, you're not the finance guy for the town, but what you're saying is that in the situation that it might be, which is the pump needs to be replaced, the town of Mason cannot, because of monetary issues, correct an issue that the customers are experiencing raw sewage in their homes.
Can I correct you something like that?
Let Rick answer the
We change
question.
it 2 times.
Miss Reddy,
It's coming
Miss
back.
Reddy, Mr. Reddy, will you please hang on just a second?
Just 1
Mr.
second,
Ricky,
ma'am.
will you please, answer this man?
We change it 2 times, and we have serious issue with this one. And the plumber, he called me a couple of days ago, 10 o'clock in the night, and we jumping on it, we clean it, but right now, everything is fine, timber.
Well, I understand that, but what Rick is saying is the situation that it might be, and it's not like a 10%, it sounds like 50-50 from what I'm hearing, is that there's raw sewage in people's homes,
Right.
and the town can't fix it because of no money. Like, to put it very, very short.
Right.
Well, I'm not understanding why don't we have a revolving loan for something like that for an emergency?
We, we
Can I-
do, and
We
I
did vote
tried,
for it.
and I tried bring it couple times, Ms. Lou, did I talk to you about Mason Charleston Road to bring it up there? End of the day is, we working on it, we working Timbery on it, Chris and Carl, working on it, we using trash pump on it, Timbery, until we get it, the
Well, I
finance
know,
together.
Chris told me that
Yeah.
they used to go out daily
Yes, ma'am.
and do that, but didn't we also have Mid-South or somebody?
It's our septic
that
tank
would
is
come
coming,
and
we
pump
spent
it
in
out.
too much money, like a couple days ago, we
Yeah,
got
they
it.
just called me a couple days ago, cause the sewage was backed up
Yeah,
8
when
inches and the
OJ,
one
he
was
called
backed
me,
up.
I want to jump in
Yep.
on it 10 o'clock in
And
the
Mr.
night.
Toro, I talked to him that night,
Yeah.
and he told me that he told y'all, just while that was not working, a temporary, just very short temporary thing,
Yes, we do.
is to have a truck come out there twice a day and pump it, cause that's what it needs, there's 24 units and all their sewage is going in.
We did it.
Plus the people on the road.
They pumped it and it was coming up in the bathtubs the next day.
We did it, and the end of the day, how we solve it, Rick, if you don't mind. How we solve this problem to finish it up, because it's for years and years, and after that coming up there, we have to solve it.
The plan that has been designed and approved by the state could be bid and constructed, and it would solve the problem.
Okay.
How much is that?
We
That's
did
$400.
not receive bids. We tried the first time. And I'm just telling you my personal feelings, and I maybe did the wrong thing here, is I thought, you're not gonna be, as a town, you're not gonna be able to pay for this.
As an engineer, he couldn't figure this out.
My thought is the solution to relieving the apartments, relieving the area, from the raw sewage that we've talked about, is replace that force main. I think it can be done fast, and if that proves to be the relief, then that buys you a little bit of time to maybe get a grant to pay for the pump station done correctly, because I don't think you can pay for it as it currently is right now.
Okay, Rick.
We opened bids recently on one similar, it was a similar design, and it was $300,000. I think yours would be a little bit cheaper, it's a little bit smaller pump, but that's where my concern is right now.
All right, Rick.
Okay,
Appreciate you.
but,
So I do think, and I do want you to be, hopeful, and spirits may be lifted if that's it. That replacing the force main is a cost-effective way to maybe fix this problem and the immediate needs, are taken care of.
Mr. Rick,
Yes,
this Virginia,
yes, ma'am.
how soon can we get numbers? How soon can we get, figures as to what replacing this, since it could be cost effective, replacing this line, this pipe, that force that could really actually change the fact of sewer going into the people's homes or apartments or whatever it is? How soon can we do that? Because if that's something we can do now, and I understand that you saying that we may not have the money. I also understand that the money was allocated for certain things, And I know where that area came in, what makes everybody upset. You hear $2 million and you think, okay, they can do this. But it's not explained that that $2 million allocated for certain things and different things. So now to fix this situation that's going on now with sewer going up in these people's houses, you just suggested to do that, replace that porous pipe. So how soon can we get numbers or figure out what it's gonna cost to get that done so we can get that going and allow us to have time to do whatever else needs to be done at that pump station?
Ms. Rivers, I sent the plans that, I've mentioned the plans that are approved. I sent them to the well drilling contractor last week.
Okay.
And asked him to price just the force main part. And I was thinking, and this is, I think you could do this, but somebody else would probably have to really verify purchasing rules. This is an emergency. You have a contract in place with this contractor, and I think you could do a change order, tell the contractor, keep it separate from the ARP work,
Right.
but we want to change your contract and add this 400 feet of pipeline to your contract, and he has all the information right now to give me a price that, it might be tomorrow, it might be next week, but, and then I think the mayor has another contractor that he'd like to get a price from, but we're soon, and if you could declare the other contractor, if you could say this is an emergency and not go through the formal bidding process, you could award it to either one of them. I know you could, or I feel like you could do the change order with one that's already contracted with the town.
Okay, I have a question.
And then it can happen quick.
Hey Rick, you have another question?
No, well, it's for, since the comptrollers are here, and you all here's a situation, what's going on, is it something, this is an emergency, but like you said, people backing up, isn't it something that, it's taking a lot of funds or whatever, since it is an emergency, I'm quite sure, nobody wanna be able to smell this every day.
You're not gonna get, any kind
It should be something, I'm just saying, it should be something that the
Well,
state or
so-
somebody else could come in and do.
I'll let Steve discuss whether or not, because you probably have more information regarding bidding procedure and change orders, but I do want to mention really briefly here, the quick answer is unfortunately no, the state does not have a pot of money set aside to help in these situations. And the reason for that is because I'm just gonna be blunt, is this is not a complicated issue that's happening here. This is something that any utility system will encounter at some point in the life of the utility system. And if money is set up properly to be saved and to be accounted for, it should be there to fix these issues. And so, Steve, I don't know if you have any, I kind of set you up there, I don't know if you have more to add about the change orders for the contractor. But.
So, what you're dealing with is an emergency. It's been going on for 3 years, but it's now in your attention.
Before,
It's an
wait, it's not.
But you've got sewage, and I'm understanding you're pumping it around another one. So you know, there are emergency purchasing procedures that are in statute. I'm not an attorney. No one here tonight is an attorney.
Yeah.
But I would implore y'all to move forward and try to find a solution for this. As a board, I think everybody is an aye vote here on trying to alleviate this.
So what I'm trying to do since it's 3 years, we have this issue way more than that. I mean, we have a lawsuit for $1 million, from the lady across the street. We tried to fix it before that with emergency, but if you go back, he was abusing the money, spending different ways, all this kind of stuff. This is how we're reaching this point.
I know, but where we're at,
I tried, the board is not cooperating.
and I'm not a member of this board. I'm just here for a presentation, so y'all have to decide and come up with a plan to fix this, and then let us know what the plan is, so that we know that this has been solved.
we could amend the budget for stuff we didn't need it. We need amend the budget for equipment to fix this situation is for almost 10-15 years. And it's coming up there to the light since have been there for a long time. We have a lady, her name Linda Smith. She filed a lawsuit for $1 million because she lived across the street from it over before even my time. You know, but the end of the day is we try to do whatever I can. We have a car and Chris working hard to try to do it. But right now, way much better. We used to have spent a lot of money for Mid-South septic tank coming to clean it up. But when she called me, he called me 10 o'clock in the night, I jumped on it.
I will, like I said, I will turn this over to the board.
Okay, we are gonna put in the agenda next week. We have to get a solution for it. We have to make emergency purchase to change the line until we see what we can do. Whatever it takes, whatever it costs.
And then Nate probably can say this more eloquently than I can, but I would implore you as a board to go and look at your entire system. Because this is not just one, this is the fever that someone is now, you know, have something really bad.
Yeah,
I
it's
would go and
going
look
for
at the
years
entire
and years.
system and say, where are we at in the entire system?
I appreciate it. I promise you, we're gonna take care of it.
Miss
Promise
Mary,
you.
I just wanna
Yes, ma'am.
say something to the mayor. You said about Mr. Marbury, that you were trying to get him to fix those problems. Well, you're right, the board did not approve. Mr. Marbury was not on the contract. He was
I
not
don't
an
give him a
employee of
contract.
the town, and that was a big liability.
Okay,
So,
do you know
yes, sir.
something?
I
He's
just
gonna
wanna
fix it
make
for
sure.
free,
It
for
was
free.
not, it's a
I know
liability.
this.
Liability.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Case
what you think
dismissed.
you.
Thank you.
Again, I just wanna know how soon that he can get the figures, we need the figures.
Yeah,
You can't do nothing without figures.
I think I heard him say,
I
Rick, are
can
you
hear
still
him
on
cause
the, are you
keep
still on the
cutting him
call?
off, so I.
Hey, Rick, you still there?
When can you get the numbers Ms. Rivers is asking about?
I didn't give her, I've depended on the contractor that I have asked, that's drilling the well right across behind the fire department where y'all are. I've asked him for numbers. I will call him again in the morning and ask, but I'm at his mercy.
Right.
It's not my numbers, it's his numbers.
I would say,
I would say I can have it
yeah, and I would say if he gives you this,
next few days.
if he gives you this number, send it to the board. If not, go find another contractor. He says, I can't do this, find a contractor that can do this. and
I
then
sent
start
the
that
number
process.
to John. I'll call him tomorrow, Rick, if you don't mind, please.
It's
John and
very
Thomas.
easy. It's a very easy, 400 feet of line that's just right down the edge of the road. It's
Okay.
very easy.
All right, well, appreciate it. Appreciate it.
And
Just go with me tomorrow.
Anything I know, I try to make sure to tell you.
Thank you, Rick.
Mr. Oakley, I have one question, but is that not something that Public Works could do, or they're not qualified to do that, or why can't Public Works do that if this was laid pipe?
You can answer that, Rick.
Come on. I don't know Public Works capabilities, but if they're able to lay pipe, there's nothing, there are plenty of towns and utilities that know how to do these type of repairs, whether it's replacing 20 feet of pipe or 400 feet.
Let me ask Mr. Mally Hall and Chris and Carr, maybe you can jump in on it if you, let me see what we can do. Okay? All right, Rick. We appreciate you, Rick, for everything. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah.
Any concern else or anything you want to say?
No, I would say, I think, Steve really mentioned, I think that her timing on the complaint is really a perfect timing, because everything that we've said here is, hey, here's the extent of the problems, here's the issues with the policy, here's the issue with the procedures, here's the financial distress that we've seen for 2-3 years now, and now it's getting to the point where it is an expensive repair if it requires the pumping station, but it's also a repair that is owed to the customers and the citizens of the town of Mason. And so y'all are in a situation here where you can't even afford, if it's that situation, you can't even afford what I would consider to be a minor repair. And so I really think that her complaint really brings that kind of everything together, and then it's very clear that we can talk about policies and we can talk about numbers, but what she's experiencing, what the individuals in the department are experiencing, is very much real life.
And I did speak to Indy Wright. We spoke several times on the phone, and I did have Christopher. He did call you, right?
No, you gave me his number, and when I tried to call him, it was a older lady. It wasn't a. Remember I had told you, and then you gave me Mr. Carl's number. Now that, and I got in touch with him.
Okay. Yeah, but I did put her in touch with the head of one of the head of the water department and to talk to her. So that's
another thing
this
too.
meeting, it worked out. The meeting was right here around the corner, so I did mention to her that someone from T-Bar.
Well, you know what, that's another thing too, we having this meeting, and you got people in public work that should have been here, so we could have asked them, are they able, are they capable of doing what needs to be done? But see, we don't have them here, so you can't, when you don't have your department heads present at a meeting, then you can't ask them what needs to be asked.
So,
Well, that's something we
back
have to
what we
policy.
addressed today,
We
remind
lose
you
the-
about all the policy and the procedure,
All department heads.
the policy and the money, the finance, all this one. This situation is going on years and years, because we reached this point because nobody put the money in the right place. That's it.
Well, and I think we're still there, so I would, and I know y'all had a late night, and I appreciate y'all inviting us to come back. I really appreciate Adam and Nate. Sarah may have had to leave us. Well, but I don't want y'all to let off the gas pedal. Like I said, think about the house being framed. The rafters are there, the house is coming together, there's not a roof on it. You'll have to keep going. You gotta hire a contractor. I mean, that's where you're at now, is you're looking at a possible charter amendment to hire a contractor. That's what this would be. Your city manager, you wouldn't consider building a house and just going, hey, y'all, people start building this house. You want somebody there that knows the code, that knows that this is how you wire it, this is how you plumb it, this is how you frame it. That's what that city manager would be. And when it comes to the utilities, and while I stepped into the restroom, Nate may have said this, but let me say it again, like, understand your utilities, and understand that if you were to allow this to be merged into another utility somewhere, y'all aren't losing your utilities. The citizens of Mason will still have utilities. They'll just be run by an organization that is done, that's what they do. Every day they do utilities all day long. And you can focus on the city. Now, that may sound antithetical, but I was on the phone with the city manager of a very large city just last week, and he said, we're turning our utilities into a municipal energy authority. Basically, that says, we're gonna move them over here to the side, we're gonna make them their own, and the only time we're ever gonna touch them again is if they dissolve, then they come back to the city. The assets will come back to the city, it's a legal thing. He was ecstatic. He was like, I'm not going to be in the electrical, plumbing, or sewer or gas business anymore. I'm going to be in the city business. And that made him extremely happy. So I just wanted to pass that on. You might talk to other cities that have done this, but if you choose not to go that route, you really have to address, this is, like I said, this is a symptom. And I have a feeling the problem is much, much worse. I would go back, Sarah, you got the report delivered on time to T-Bar, and I really appreciate that. I would implore you to read that report, cover to cover. And T-Bar is fine. There's some finance in there, but there's also some structural issues, and I would read that and call people back and say, what do we need to do to fix these problems? Because we saw it tonight. It doesn't matter how long it's been going on. If it's going on one day, we ignore it, it's too much. I hope to, I can't be here the next Monday night when y'all adopt that. I wanted to be here to see that, but I can't be here for other reasons. But do invite us back if you want us to come back. We're happy to come back. I want y'all to keep working along. There was dissent in the beginning, and then y'all actually started working as a board, asking questions and going back and forth. I don't know if y'all noticed that. And then we kind of resolved a little bit more, but that is what y'all need to build Mason. Get the roof on the house. Please invite us back, and we're happy to come in. We'll bring the food the next time, and we will celebrate the crowning achievement that y'all have put together. Anything we can do to help. Just let us know.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, we're closing prayer by Alderman Harris. Can you close the? Don't have anybody. No, she did it. Open it.
I know, but she's okay with it.
Okay, we'll close it down. Thank you.
Let us bow. Father God, we come now to say thank you for what has taken place in this place. We're grateful that your presence was here. We ask if we've done anything, said anything out of your will. We ask you to forgive us, Lord, and help us to move this town forward. Help us to come together. Help us to mend where we can give the peoples of this town what they need. And Master, as we get ready to leave this place, we ask that you give us traveling grace. This we ask in Jesus' name, for Christ's sake. Amen.
Make a motion to adjourn.